really excited to be doing this lecture, and I'm really just going to be focusing on a couple of main things for beginners, but it's also something. Wait, why can I hear an echo?
Sorry, somebody's not muted, so I muted them. Go ahead.
It's okay. But yeah, guys, I'm really going to go over the basics. And the thing at the end of the day is without these basics, it doesn't matter how advanced charting techniques you get, not going to get anywhere without these basics. So I'm going to get started with the most is a watch list and the importance of a watch list and why you should make your own watch list and how to make it, etc. So to me, it's important to have a watch list because you should have a variety of, because each sector will be going up or down on what's going on in the market. In this case, I have travel. Then after travel, I have a little bit of tech. After tech, I have retail. After retail, I have like Nikola, Neo, EVs, and then the list is on. And it's just like, again, it's really important to understand that there's different sectors will be going up and down at different times. When we had that pullback recently, you noticed that most of the EVs were actually still going up. So that if you were still in those EVs, you would have been fine. You still would have been green. Ultimately, the question I get a lot is, okay, so how do I pick the stocks that go into my watch list, or where do I find these stocks? Why? And that decision is really yours. Pick some of your favorite brands that you guys use every single day, stuff that you are eating, stuff that you go shop at, stuff that you've seen nothing wrong with looking at stocks that you find here or there. One of my personal favorite things to do and how I found a couple of stocks is dive inside of indexes, dive inside of different ETFs and see what other people are buying. And an example is that, let's see if I can find it. AQMS is something that I always show. No, not AQMS. Let's see. Here it is, AQB. So AQB is actually something that ARK has recently been buying, and it's something that Fidget Spinner mentioned to me. We bought around, I think, the $7 area, and now it's at 10. We would have never seen this stock if we didn't know that ARK bought it. So I'll probably post later on the newsletter that ARK has, or maybe Fidget can actually post it, or whoever follows ARK religiously can show how to see what these index companies are actually buying or what these ETF. But probably the most important thing when it comes to actually making a watch list or what you can get out of this is price action. So ARKAT is probably one of my favorite stocks that I've been recently trading. And I can probably look at its price. Below $20 is an immediate buy for me. I don't even have to look at the chart sometimes, and I know that I should buy RKT. And what I'm going to take that with price action is I'm going to lead that into support and resistance. Support and resistance levels is probably the Bible of trading. It's the basics. Without support and resistance, you don't have trades. You're not going to go anywhere. But the question is, okay, how do I find support? How do I find resistance? What does it really mean? And in my case, the way I've been taught is I usually try to find two candles. So for example, for RKT, it has a really good support around the 20 level, but there's also nothing wrong with, grabbing it here at the lower levels around 1935. But another way that I chart is I'll actually look at the line graph because it's a little bit easier. So as you see right here around the $20 area, you have 1 test, 2 tests, 3 tests, almost 4. So 4 times that this stock has gone down here and tested that 20 support area. It shows you that it's a pretty strong support, as well as down here in the 1867 range. Want to get into finer detail, you use the actual candle. That's when you start looking in for more detail, because the candle itself is what shows you the information. A question I've gotten is, why don't you use the wicks? And the reason why I personally don't use wicks is because it doesn't have as much information as the actual candle itself does. So look for this, and this is across every single stock that I buy when it comes to especially shares. Another good example for support is home. Those who were in the home play with me, look at this beautiful support at 15 or 15.17. Once, it got tested twice, 4 times, 5 times, and it was consolidating there for a little while. Look at the stocks that are on your watch list. Look at how many times it tests that certain support, and figure out if that's a support that you would actually want to draw. The last example for support that I'll use is a Workhorse, and we were also in that play. So Workhorse had a great support at the $20 range, right here, or the $21-$20 range, and that's exactly where we got in. And again, how many times did it consolidate and test it around here? Once, twice, 3, probably a good 10. It shows that it really respected that support. Now, you can't always trust support. You can't always assume that, okay, like because support, that means it's not going to go down. No, you can never assume that. In this case, it actually broke support, and we ended up averaging down around the $20 area. So with support, cap on that is that this is where people tend to buy. We buy at the support.
Thank you.
Now we'll go into resistance, and the difference between resistance and support is resistance is where the stock is having trouble at. In this case, look at Workhorse, again, the same stock, but at 23. So 1, 2, 3, even over here, 4, 5, 6. It attempted to break that 23.52 resistance at least a good 6 times. And in this case, I remember saying that if we break 23, we have a clear shot to 27. And it did. We smashed through 23, and we ended up going to 27, which also ends up being another resistance level. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's it, guys, is the basics of support and resistance. I'll show you guys more examples as well. Same thing with home.
I'll show you guys more examples as well.
It followed it to a T. The resistance that it had was at the 17 level, and I said, if we break the 17 level, we have a clear shot to 18. And it did it just like that. And you can apply the support and resistance on any time frame, on any stock. It doesn't matter. Now, for resistance, if you're a bear and you like to short stuff, that's where a lot of people do like to enter their short positions after resistance. For me, what I like to use for resistance is this is when I should take profit. I don't like to get greedy with it. I'll usually take profits at resistance. Same thing. The resistance that it has is 2260 or 2265. So I tested it once, twice, 3 times, 4, 5. And guys, this is the basics. Like I could end the lecture now, and you guys would be able to trade. This, if you can't get this down, this is the basics of everything. I really can't stress that enough. You need to get good at drawing support and resistance lines. You will become a successful trader if you can get this down. This is it. Talk to Telio, talk to Hostel, Phase, any of these guys. They all use support and resistance. Doesn't matter if you're scalping. Doesn't matter if you're swinging. Doesn't matter if you're using shares or options or selling premium. It all comes down to this, guys. Resistance lines.
And if
Doesn't
anybody,
get any basic.
if any of you have questions, please make sure that you just save it for the 9 p.m. live Q&A so that Mario can continue through his table of contents, I guess. And if you're joining, please make sure you mute yourself so we don't get interruptions. It's kind of confusing for the presenter. Still there, Mario?
Can you hear me?
I can now, yeah.
So what if I go to the other page, you can't hear me?
It just went quiet for a minute when I jumped in, and then I stopped talking, didn't hear you. You got that funky stuff going on with your iMac again.
When
Can you hear? So if I go to the other page, you
when you
can't hear
hop
me?
over to the other page, you can't hear him.
Yeah, I don't think we can hear you when you hop to the other page.
But I was talking on that page the whole time, no?
Try it again. Click on it and then talk. Yeah, I don't hear anything if you're talking.
Okay, well, I mean,
It's
that
weird.
that reference part, guys, when it came to support and resistance, um, this is exactly what Stock Daddy and Tilio does when it comes to their watch list in the mornings. They do this either pre-market or after their or post-market, and they just really look at the strong levels of support and resistance. In this case, Tilio is scalping. He's looking at these, I think, on a 5 to 15-minute frame. It's the same thing, guys. It's the same exact thing. I tend to trade off of the daily chart. Different people like to trade off of different time frames. Figure out what works best for you. You don't have to do what I do. You don't have to do what Telio does. You don't have to do what any of these other guys do. But what you do have to do is get really good at drawing your support and resistance lines. And I can't stress you practice enough. Like that's the only way you're going to get good at this is practice, practice, practice. You know, instead of watching that show, instead of playing that video game, instead of doing whatever you need to do, just take the time, especially post market, and just chart everything out. You know, compare yourself to the chart analysis that the staff is posting. See, like, okay, why did they draw that line? Why do they have it at this price? What are they looking for? Ask yourself these questions and see if you can replicate it yourself on your end. I don't know if we're going to be able to show the other stuff also then. Can you hear me?
Hey, I'm sorry to interrupt, but how can I see the stream? Is there a YouTube link?
There should be.
Yeah, go to the
Yeah, I can
announcements
hear
tab.
you.
Go to the
Oh,
announcements
announcements. Okay.
tab.
All right. Thank you.
And yes,
So
Mario,
also,
I can
I'm going to
hear you.
try. So if I go to the other page, you can hear me again?
I'm not sure. Try it. Try it. I don't hear anything. That's
Okay,
weird.
well, I wanted to show the
You
trends.
you were able to do it right now.
Oh, I was. So you guys can hear me?
I couldn't. Do you have Discord app, or are you using it on the web? I can't hear you, by the way.
Yeah, I'm using it on the web. So I'm assuming people can't hear me when I move on to the other
Yeah,
platform.
I think that's the
I
problem.
think if you keep speaking, Mario, what happens is if you're continuously speaking and you move on to the other tab, it still works. But if you take a pause and somebody else speaks, it doesn't work. So
Interesting.
yeah, so try speaking on while on the Discord, and don't stop for a few seconds, and then try to go there. And I think somebody will interrupt and let you know if he can hear you.
Okay, perfect. That's a great idea. Thank you, Sam. All right, well, we'll just go off of what Sam says. Hopefully this does work. Can you guys hear me on this end or no?
Yes, it does work.
Perfect. And you can still hear me now, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, guys. So this is, again, like this is it. I can't stress this enough. Like I keep saying this is the basics. This is it really is, guys. Every single professional trader out there in the world, the guys that do this for a living, you can ask any of them. They all use support and resistance lines. Now we're going to take a step further into this and seeing how you can actually make plays off of it. And I'm going to move into the concept of channels. Now, channels are really fun for me because what they normally do is they channel between a range, or they channel between what at the end of the day is two support and resistance lines. That's all it really is. Now, I think Cal's the one that called solo the other day, but look at this. Look at this beautiful support line that it has. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So it keeps testing it, and depending on the type of trader you are, the way I would have traded this is I would have entered 624, or whatever this is, 620, wrote it up, and probably would have taken profit at 783. And that's one trade. And then you can easily buy a put or short, whatever you guys do, and ride it back down. That's 2 trades. And look how many times, 3, 4, and we're going to see what it does here, right? This is the interesting part about this all. Where is it going to go? How is it going to react to this resistance line? Is it going to smash through it? Do we have enough momentum? Is there news that comes out? Is there volume? Those are all things you guys need to be paying attention to. But again, if you didn't have these support and resistance lines, you would have not caught this channel. And it's just a perfect play. And it might be something that I might call out in the future, depending on where we see it go. Another one that's in a really good channel was, I think, let me see what's other. Go. And let me delete these lines for you guys, just so I can show you how I draw those later. Go was in a perfect channel here. And I remember talking to Fidget Spinner about this, and I think even Professor, where I entered at 37 or 36, and I wrote it up to 39, and I didn't take profit. And then I wrote it back down, and I wrote it back up, and I didn't take profit, and I wrote it back down, and I wrote it back up. These plays are textbook. They're so easy to find. They can make you a lot of money. Again, the support is super solid. In this case, see how the wicks are the ones that are actually respecting the support. I know before I said I don't trust wicks, but in this case, you can really see how the wicks don't even go anywhere below that except for the case here. But again, it did this beautiful channel, and you could have taken profit each single time, got in here at 36.60 or 36.70, whatever it is, and wrote it up and taken profits at 39. It's a $3 change with a good delta for the guys that do trade options. That would have been a good amount of gains. Or with shares, same thing. And then buy your puts. And you could have just rode this multiple times. Unfortunately I didn't, and I was being greedy, and I wanted it to pass the 39, which eventually it did, and I ended up selling up here in the 40s. But this is textbook, guys. These channels are so easy to find. Look for them. But the only way you guys are going to be able to find them, again, is if you practice your support and resistant lines. That's the only way. I can't stress this enough. Now we're going to get into trends. And trends is pretty much a channel.
Hey, Mario, aren't you in Go right now? I thought you and I talked about that just recently.
I already sold Goal.
Gotcha.
Yeah, already sold it. I'll have to go back and see if you guys can hear me. Can you guys hear me still?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so now we're going to move on into trends, guys. Same thing as channels, but trends, you either have an uptrend. Now, a good friend of mine told me downtrends have lower highs and lower lows, and uptrends have higher highs and higher lows. In this case, we have a case of an uptrend, and I'll show you guys how to chart it. Usually when it comes to trends, I like to have 3 candles or 3 types of formations, 3 types of information. With trends, it's okay to use wicks. With support and resistance, again, I like more of the actual body of the candle. But I would find the lowest point and kind of just chart it out. Let's see if we can get it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 3 bodies, and what I'll do is I'll usually just clone this. Every trading platform is a little bit different. So I'll clone it, and I'll just try to as much information as possible. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be perfect. The wicks don't have to touch it on top. Just try to capture as much information as possible. And again, it's literally just like the channel, but again, side as we're going up. As you can see, it touches, you can even almost consider these like support and resistance. It touches it down here, it goes up, and you can trade it just like we do with channels. Sell up here, go back down, sell back down, and look how beautifully it actually follows this support. And this trend, it just keeps going up, and eventually it broke out of support and started consolidating. This is a perfect a tiny uptrend, guys. You guys can use these all the time. Learn, practice, chart these out. Once you get really good at them, I promise you, you can start making your own plays and you can make a lot of money off of these very simple setups. I'll show you guys an example of a downtrend here. So this is Verizon, and this is, in my opinion, one of the perfect examples of a downtrend. Same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Right? It's just, again, it's following it. It goes down, touches it, goes back up, touches it, goes back up, touches it, goes back up, and touches it. And it follows the same thing. Lower highs and lower lows. You guys get really good at actually looking at these. You can spot, identify them, and make a ton of money off of these guys. They're super simple, and it helps you guys in the long run if you're asking, hey, where do you think is going? Well, is it in a trend? Is it an uptrend? Is it in a downtrend? Is it channeling? Pay attention to the way the stock is moving. Draw your support and resistance lines, and you guys can figure out where, you know, the stock is eventually going to go. It's not perfect. It's not 100, but it gives you an advantage to just blindly jumping into trades. Now, lastly, guys, you guys can do this all you want. You guys can keep practicing. You guys can keep practicing. But when it comes to the real thing, I wanted to talk about lastly is emotions. Because I remember when I first started trading, I saw the 100% on the Instagrams. I saw these really big portfolios making a lot of money. And I even remember my first trade, I made $1,000 on Disney. I was like, wow, options are super easy. We can make a ton of money. And you start getting greedy and you start thinking that you can take on the world. And reality is that it's going to bite you in the ass. And the market does not care about what you want, who you are, anything like that. If you guys do not take profits in this market, it will eat you alive, spit you out, and you're going to pretty much blow your whole portfolio. So I'll tell you a personal example that made me really understand why it's so important to take profit and why I preach it so much, guys. I honestly think everyone in this lecture just took profits, even if it was 10%, 15%, 20%, 30%. You guys would never see another red day portfolio again. It's that simple. It's so easy, guys. Just take the profit. Don't get greedy. Even, and this was the issue. So I got into Apple, I think it was like right here at the 113 or like the 110 or 113, and ended up all the way to 125. And guess what I did? I didn't take profit outside that. My answer was like, gee, how much more can I get? How much higher can Apple go? Because it went up to 137. Why isn't it going to go up there again? And look what happened. It went from 125 all the way back down to 107. And I could have played it again. Don't ever feel profits. There's nothing wrong with taking profits because at the end of the day, you guarantee that money and you can use that later for another play. But if you lose these profits, you don't even get a chance to play again because it did it twice. And I ended up having to hold it. And luckily I was in shares. A lot of you guys that actually trade options don't have the luxury of time, but I did. And I think I got out up here again at 125 and I sold. And I didn't care that Apple went up to 135. I was okay with it because I was able to use that money that I gained from this play in other plays in the future that made me a lot of money, whether it was Workhorse, Home, RKT, or anything else, guys. So please, I don't know how I can ingrain this in your head. Please learn to take profits. I promise you that if you take profits, you will never have another red day in your life. Obviously, there's certain things that are out of our control, and that's another thing we need to understand. There are things that are out of control. There's a lot of news that gets out. There's just random things, the coronavirus that happened that caused a great crash. There's things that are going to be out of our control. But the one thing we can control is when we take profits, guys. And if you ingrain that in yourself, and if you please take profits, you will be a successful trader. I can guarantee you that. With that being said, I know that was pretty short. I can ask or I can answer some questions. I don't know, Hostel, if you actually just want to jump into your Q&A a little early. Whatever works out for you guys.
Yeah, I can. Not a problem. I'm probably going to keep the stream going and everything, recording and all that, since it's kind of just flowing into it anyways. So there are quite a few questions on the YouTube stream. We'll start here in the Discord. Questions on the YouTube stream. We'll start here in the Discord. Questions on the YouTube stream.
I have a question.
Okay, who is that?
Jiv in the Discord.
Okay.
So let's say you've identified the channel and you're going through your trades. How do you pick a strike price? Is it simply based off the size of your portfolio, or?
All right. So Mario, let me share my screen, and I will show that.
There you go.
All right. Just give me 1 second and let me get my stuff pulled up. All right. You should be able to see it on the stream on both YouTube and here. Okay. So when I go for, we're going to look at Apple, since Apple was what he just recently went over. How you pick your option price, right? So hold on a second. Mario, can you mute, please? All right, so how you pick your strikes. It could vary, but for me specifically, so I like to buy leaps, right? Now, maybe you like to buy weeklies, bi-weeklies, monthlies, or whatever the case is. It's still very much the same concept, right? So when I go to buy something, we'll look at January 15th, just for fun, okay? First thing I look at is, all right, where's all the open interest at, right? So if you're looking at my chart right now, you see this column where my mouse is. This is open interest. So I'm looking for anything over 1,000, but the more the better, right? Second thing I look for is how much does it cost? So let's say I like the 135 strike. It's got the most open interest, so it should be very, very liquid for me to get in and out of that position, right? So then I come over here and I look at the bid and ask spread, right? And I try to see, how wide is that spread? And basically, the closer the spread is, the better you are at getting in and out of that position. And what that means is, you've got, the closer the spread is, the equal amount of buyers and sellers are in that current position, right? So it makes it a lot easier for you to get in and out. And that's really the only way that I look at options and strike prices, right? You could look at delta, you could look at theta, you could look at vega and gamma, but those things are really going to tell you how much that contract price is going to change when the price moves. It's not going to tell you if you should get in and out of that particular strike, right? And the theta is going to tell you how much money you're going to lose at the end of every day, right? So, like, for example, on this 135 strike, I'm gonna, from Friday, I'm gonna lose 19 bucks. So by the end of Friday, it's 19. By the end of Saturday, it's 19. By the end of Sunday, it's 19. Market opens, that theta number is going to be different, right? So that's one way that I use theta as well. So hopefully, does that answer your question, Jiv?
Yeah, that was great. Thanks to the both of you guys.
All right, awesome. Okay, I'm gonna jump over to YouTube stream here. So I'm gonna kind of go back and forth. So there's a couple of requests on particular tickers. So PLTR looks like one that somebody was asking about. So let's go in here. So PLTR looks like it's probably still in an uptrend. It looks like it bottomed out here somewhere under 23. It broke resistance. Let me draw a couple of circles here. Broke resistance here, broke it here and here. Now it looks like it's holding this area. And it came back down, obviously, but it's using this resistance point as support. Right? So if you see it wicking, that's weakness in that candle. Right? So we're looking at it basically using this particular support level, or I'm sorry, this particular resistance level as support. Right? So if I go further to the left, you can see that it does have a support point here and here and here. And I can almost argue this area is also support. So that's kind of where we're at, right? So let me clear all these lines and then draw one single support here so you can see exactly what I'm referencing. Price levels. All right, so we're going to do that. So you can see how all of these points here basically touch and move up, or you're using this area as support. And then you've got these 2 points here that are acting as resistance, right? I think that we're going to see this potentially bounce. It's got a trend up, in my opinion, a short-term trend up, but it has one. So, we're looking at something like that. I could even argue that maybe something like that, right? So that's PLTR. See DBX. This might actually do some consolidation sideways movement. Have to see. I mean, it did breach resistance, weak resistance, mind you, but it did breach it right there. It breached this one and this one, but it's having trouble getting through this last one here initially. So we'll see what happens. If it breaches this one, then it's going to have to make it through the $23 area, and then the next level is going to be, up here at 23.85, right? So we'll see what happens. I like the price level of DBX right now. I really like it at under 22, because it gapped up, and it refilled that gap, right? So let me draw it out here. This gap, right? It filled that gap. So now it's coming back up. I think we're going to see this move upwards more. It's got more strength, in my opinion. Let's see. I'll watch that one, honestly. All right, who on the Discord voice has questions so that I can move to you guys here?
I had a question regarding the Dropbox. Can you take a look at it on the 1 year, 1 day?
Looks different now. So I think it's still in an uptrend for sure. So let me just point some stuff out. Please mute yourself. Thank you. All right, so I'm gonna show you some stuff here in the middle of the year. So we got a couple of high points, right? And then we've got some resistance levels that are key. All right, so just draw some resistance points here. So from COVID to I'd say June-ish is an uptrend, and then it went kind of neutral here. It did a big V. It still relatively ended in the same area, but then it became more of a downtrend. All right, so it created a downtrend, and it created a bunch of resistance levels on its way down. Now we're looking at a new uptrend, in my opinion. All right, so what I'm thinking here is it breached this resistance point. So number one, it stopped the trend and reversed. Right, it broke through that downtrend line, breached resistance here, breached it here. I mean, basically breached all resistance levels and set a new high. Right. Okay, so you guys follow
Yeah.
me so far. All right, so I'm gonna remove all these drawings and I'm gonna show you something else.
Okay.
And I'm thinking we're looking at a 50% retracement level here. Oh yeah, perfect. This right here is 50% retracement. That tells me it's gonna keep going up. Another thing that tells me it's gonna bounce off of that area is so I've got these two indicators down here that I don't really use all that much until I see something on the chart, and then I look down here to see if this kind of helps with confirmation. Right. So I got this true momentum that basically shows you which side the strength is on, right? Since what's this date here? The 28th. It's been in a downtrend, right? The momentum went down. It's got selling pressure. Now, one of these little true momentum lines is crossing over the other one. That's an indicator that it's going to reverse, right? Other thing that I look at with the MACD here is not whether or not the lines cross or where they're at on the chart. I look how far apart the blue and the tan are from one another. Right, so that's important here.
Yeah.
If they're really far apart like this, and I'm showing a reversal potential here, I'm showing a 50% retracement here, and I'm seeing a resistance level acting as support, right? That's multiple confirmations that tells me this is probably going to start moving back up pretty well. And it's potentially going to breach this $25 area. So that makes me think, how much can I get for premium here? 127. That might be worth getting into.
So this wouldn't be a good share swing, would it?
I don't see why not. It's bouncing off the 50%. I would probably look to get out at the resistance level, though. I wouldn't try to squeeze it for more money. If it, I mean, you could say, basically look at the stock when it reaches around 24.5 to $25 and see where's the strength, where's the pressure. Is it on the bulls or the bears, right? Is it losing strength from the bulls and gaining on the bears? That's probably an indicator it's going to reverse. Right, so price action and volume make a huge difference when you're looking at trying to get in or out of a position, based off of strength and momentum, right? So, and that's why I like this true momentum one down here, because it kind of helps me see that price action kind of ahead of time. But again, it's not something that I would just use solely by itself.
Yeah, a little bit.
You see, that's nice. You stacked a lot of factors right there.
And that's exactly how you should be looking at trades, right? You don't just say, oh, support, all right, get in, resistance, I'll get out. You look at multiple things, right? So I think this is probably a good trade to get into. I think it's going to do some kind of reversal and not quite come back down on this 50% level, but I think it's going to probably come to 22, just over $22, maybe 10, 15 cents higher, and then it's going to bounce again. You know, it had a big rip. So if I go, let me go closer in again. So as you see here, it had a big rip. So matter of fact, let me clear this one more time and see if I can determine if this is what kind of retracement level I'm looking at on this small little area. I need to go further out. Okay. Look at that, 50%. So it might bounce pretty hard come Monday, in my opinion. I mean, it fell through the 50% to the 61, jumped back up, it bounced off 50% again right here. After hours, it stopped at 50% on this short-term time frame, this short-term wave. So I think we're going to see this bounce again, in my opinion. Monday market open. That's
Could
my
have
guess.
you could have day trade scalped that when it at that bounce right there, right? On that day.
You could have, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a lot more risky, but theoretically you could have, especially if that's the type of trading you're into. Why not, right?
Yeah. Wow, I wouldn't have looked into this thoroughly. Holy, I want to though. I want to be able to. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. All right, so let me go back to YouTube. So Tesla. I think Tesla is going to keep going up for a little while here. We still got these big hedge funds that are buying into it. I don't have a price target for this. I have no idea. At some point, though, it's going to retrace, right? So this is what I'm thinking. Let's take a quick look. Let me remove. So let's see what I got on the retrace or the Fibonacci retracement here. I swear, I believe we're going to see it hit, 525, 550 at some point in the near future. It's going to stop rising. But when it stops rising is the question. So let me see if I can. Maybe $1,000 mark. Because I'm basing this off of resistance level. I think Cal does extensions a little bit differently than I do, but we could be looking at $1,000 mark here for Tesla. But again, trying to predict a price point where something's already in an all-time high and trying to predict how much higher it's going to go, that's a tricky game, right? It's pure prediction and speculation at this point. There's no data to back up how high this is actually going to go. All right, Discord on voice. Anybody got a question here?
I got a question. Can you look at WYY? I did some research on it. It seems like a good company with a lot of positive
Who is it? What's the
coming up.
ticker?
WYY, White Point.
WYY?
Yeah,
White Point.
White Point Corp. Yeah.
So I don't particularly like the way this looks. It's using these couple of resistance points. So let me draw out a couple of things. Okay, so firstly, it's using these two resistance points as support, but that's too close. The thing that I don't like is hovering underneath the 61.8%. It's not bouncing off of the 71 or 78. It's hovering in between 61 and 78. That to me is more of a bearish signal. So I don't particularly like the way this looks. I've seen a couple other stocks that look like that have the same type of movement, and it didn't end well, right? So one other thing I want to point out here before I move on to something else. Let me get rid of Fibonacci. So it's got this gap. So there's a gap from this red line downward that it still hasn't filled, right? So it's using resistance levels previously as support, but it has a gap. It has not filled yet. I believe that gap will be filled. I think almost always gaps get filled. Now, what happens when it does fill that gap? Does it bounce off of it and go north? That's a magic 8-ball question, right? Stocks like this, you got to put a lot more fundamental analysis into it to really have a confident guess on what may or may not happen with this, right? If you're not in the position, then you don't have emotion necessarily driving you. Whereas if you're in the position, you're hoping that it goes up, and your emotion is influencing you to stay in, right? So, use that as your part of your confirmation toolkit, and try to have the best objective judgment on what you want to do here.
Thanks, man. That's what I've been waiting for it to break out, the 10,998 level, but it's not been breaking out, I guess. Just gonna try to wait it out and then maybe get out of it with a measly profit. I got in at around 8:30, and a few weeks ago, and it has not broken out of the double-digit mark, and
Well,
that's what I've been waiting for it to do.
what I would do is get out at the $10 mark, wait for it to
Yeah,
drop down to 850 area, and then maybe that's a good
yeah,
entry.
that's a good entry again. I agree. Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, back to
Hey, Hostel.
hey.
Quick question. Can
Oh,
you check for Exxon Mobil, XOM?
so energy's doing well right now. The question is, when does it stop doing well? It's at a resistance point currently, 45.60 roughly. If it breaches this, you're looking at a few resistance points actually. So you'd be looking at right around 47.36, 48.21, 49.14, 49.73, and then finally somewhere up here above 53. What I would do is pay attention to price action and volume as it comes up to these support levels on the chart, on the 180-day 4-hour chart, right? So you see these 3 points here that I'm referencing, or actually 4. So you got oops, you got one. Oh, crap, I can't see that. So you got this one, this one, this one, and this one. Those are the 4 that needs to breach in order to surpass, or in order to move towards the $53 area.
Okay.
One thing that I will say is it did breach resistance at 44.57 with strength. Looks like. I mean, it gapped up and continued going up. So I think you're going to see it continue moving upward. But again, it's having some resistance right here. I think it goes. I think it gets through it, but it's going to have a retracement, probably back down to the 44.75 area before it moves to retest this point.
You think it gets to 50 by end of January?
Mm. Hmm. There's potential. I don't know if it will. It's hard to say. Typically, the movement upwards is twice as
Right.
long as the movement downwards. If that makes sense.
All right. Thank you, though.
You're welcome. All right, let's see. Let's see. Whenever Tesla, I don't know what Tesla's going to do tomorrow. It'll probably go up, but I'm guessing. I have no way to make a determination other than hedge funds still probably buying up shares of it because it hit the SPY. That's about the only thing I can say. So NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is playing in between its range right now. I'd like to see it bounce off 4478 potentially. But when it does bounce, or when it reaches that level, what does it do? That's the question. I don't think it's going to breach it, but I do believe that we're going to see some short-term retracement here, potentially. I mean, it's consolidating. It's been consolidating for 2 months, it looks like. So, I mean, and it's using, so let me go closer in. I mean, it looks like it's using this area pretty well as support. Let me get my line. All right, I mean, it looks like it's using this area for support pretty well. So if anything, you're going to see a bounce off of 510 or so, give or take a couple of dollars. Hard to say what this one will do specifically. I am bullish on NVIDIA, but I mean, it's at a, I mean, 600 was its high. It's a $500 stock. You know, there's no telling what this can do. It's just, it's expensive. There's not a lot of volume that can go into this, more so than things that are $100, $200 or less. But this is one of those where big rich hedge funds probably throw money at. So, you know, that could make it move. If the tech industry does well, expect NVIDIA to also do well. All right. Sonny, are you in here? Let's see. Sonny. No, Sonny. Okay. Who else has questions in the voice channel?
Did you say
Hey,
Elise Leon?
Whoa, two of you. Well, one of you go, and then
I
I'll go
want
for the next guy.
I wanted to ask about what do you guys think about Bitcoin? Like, what is your opinion on what's been going on with it and for this coming week?
I mean, it's hyped, but the one thing I don't like about Bitcoin is it falls faster than it rises. So if you're catching FOMO, I would probably try and take some medicine for that, because you don't want to get in at highs, and believe me, she's at a high. So you go into Bitcoin right now, and then it does, you know, a 20% drop or bigger. It's gonna hurt, right? So, you know, at this point, it's already been pumping, it's already reaching highs. You're too late. That's my opinion. So I would just not look at it. All right, who's the other person?
I had a question about your wheel strategy video.
Okay.
Um, in the video you were saying when you were doing cash secured puts that the only way you can't really lose money. The only thing you lose is time. Is that assuming that the price you bought the cash secured put at would be reached again at some point in the future?
So yes, so selling the cash secured put for premium. Hold on, somebody's not muted here. So if you go in the money, you get assigned shares. You can turn around and sell a covered call against it at the same strike that you got assigned. So theoretically, you're keeping premium for the CSP and you're adding premium from the covered call, right? So at some point in the future, it's going to go back up to that price and potentially call away your shares, and then you just keep full premium and you keep selling those covered calls against those shares until it does so, right? If it starts to pump and your timing is great and it expires worthless and it's in an upward motion, you can start looking at either just holding the shares and letting them go at a resistance point or selling covered calls at a particular strike level for a shorter expiration, hoping they get called away. Or if you like the shares, you can try and time it so that when it hits resistance, then you sell covered calls and it falls. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. It makes a lot more sense because I was just under the assumption that it would just go back up. So it's better to make some covered calls and to try to recoup that money if you have a major loss after that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the goal is not to get assigned shares, but if you do, it's okay because it's a stock that you want to hold, right? Or you don't mind holding. That's the idea. And if you get stuck with the shares, well, number one, you got them at a discount. So when it goes back up to your original strike, um, you could basically just sell the shares outright, and that premium that you initially got is still yours, right? Whereas if you sell that covered call now at that same strike, you're getting the additional premium on top of the premium that you initially got when you sold the cash secured put from the first place, right? So that's the beauty here is you're not just sitting there waiting to get your money back that you initially made. Now you're taking in more profits while you're waiting to get your money back, if that makes sense. So you're kind of potentially doubling up your money while you wait.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, so I got a couple of DMs here too. So this is another person that had a question about the wheel strategy. It was said that with cash secured puts, you won't lose money, but lose. Was that you,
Yeah, that was me.
Elysium? Okay.
Yeah, I had problems with my audio earlier. Sorry.
All right, cool. Just want to make sure. 1 second. Let me just check. Got more DMs. All right, I'm going to jump back to YouTube and get some questions off of there before I start doing on this side again. So, Tushar Shah, are you in this voice? I'm pretty sure that Mario went over resistance, so you might want to check over the video again. That was one of the first things he did go over. Let's see. Benjamin Greenberg, I think the 120 level on Apple of support, I think that's a long shot. I don't think we're going to see that again. Apple is that. I think that ship has sailed, in my opinion.
Can you check space when you get a chance?
Yeah, let me just get this other last question, then I'll do space. So if you buy a call way above the actual price, do you profit? Cowboy Cav. So you do, but not much, right? So being far out of the money, there's not a lot of value there. It's cheaper, right? But it's also a lot harder to make money, right? Let's say you pay $10 for a call. Well, 100% return is $10. So think about that, right? Also think about theta decay. The further out of the money you go, the higher theta decay is in percentage. All right, so space.
Hey, Hustle,
Yes.
can I follow up on that question about the call?
Sure.
So, what would be the best way to calculate if we're getting like a good price for the option contract?
So let me go here. Spread times delta is a fair price. So let me explain what I mean with that. Who's Mike? First, who asked the question?
You mean right now?
Yes.
It's Cajun Cash. Cajun Cash.
Cajun. Okay, all right. So let me mute this other guy. All right, so spread times delta, right? So the way to understand that is, let me get my calculator out. Somebody else isn't muted. Getting ready to be. All right, so if you look at the spread, so strike 26 on February contract, right? So 278 minus 269, it's a $9 spread times the delta, which is 53, right? So 477 is the number I'm getting, right? What this means is at this price, if I'm buying options, if it's cheaper than 477, that's a good price, right? If I'm selling options, as in if I'm selling to open a position, if it's higher than 477, that's a good price. So right now we're looking at space 278 is probably a pretty decent price, right? It's half of what the fair price is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
So higher than the calculation is good for like collecting premiums.
Correct.
Okay.
And lower than it is good for buying premium.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Debiting. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, back to the space chart. So space in the downtrend, I think. I don't think it's going to come back down to the $17 area. It could. It's got potential to. I think this one needs to play out some more. One thing I am seeing is this gap right here. So it gapped down. At some point, it's going to fill that gap back. So it could be looking to do that right now, actually. There's potential for it to do that, right? I mean, gaps usually get filled sooner rather than later. But one thing I will tell you is I think it's best to wait for this to move in on some sort of direction. Either get through support at 2285 and go lower, or get through resistance at 27 and go higher. So if it gets through 27, then you can look for this gap to be filled. If it goes below 23 area, then I would say you're looking at somewhere around $20 area for support. Does that help for space? All right, let's see.
Hi, I had a question.
Okay.
Actually, two, thanks. First of all, thanks so much. This is really interesting stuff you're doing. One is I missed out on some stuff because my audio was a little jammed. Are you on tradingview.com? Is this kind of where you choose to kind of chart out your predictions? And then the other question is, if you want to compare two stocks, is there a way to put two graphs on top of each other if you wanted to kind of compare, let's say, MJ and YOLO, which are two cannabis ETFs? Thanks.
Okay, so first question. I think Mario was using Weeble. I'm using Thinkorswim. Okay. Second question. You said MJ and YOLO. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. Those are two cannabis ETFs that I've been looking at. And I
Okay.
was just wondering if there was a way, or if there's any kind of, interesting thing of possibly looking at them side by side or on top of each other. I don't know if that is helpful, but just to kind of, see if the movements might be kind of going in the same direction, or, very different directions.
Yeah. So I can look at them side by side, absolutely, on Thinkorswim.
Uh-huh.
Let me find the. So we're looking at currently got the 4 hour. So here's what you're asking about, right? Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, yeah, it's great.
Okay, so with Thinkorswim up here in the top right corner, I can choose as many windows as I want. Right, all these little squares represents a window. Right.
Cool.
So I got 2 windows selected, and something else that I can do here is, where is it? I can click detach, and it'll open these two up in a totally different window, and I can just look at them without anything else, right? And it'll still stay here. So if like I want to go to some other tickers, but want to continue to keep these two open, I can detach them, and they'll go to another screen, right? So, but really, I guess the question you're specifically asking right now, can they be looked at side by side? Absolutely, they can. And this is
Mhm.
what I've got here set up.
Yeah. I mean, and then where do you start to draw metrics into maybe how they're connecting or disconnecting, and which one would you prefer? Or is it on volume? Is it on, looking at the like metrics of the company and the value, of each one, and kind of choosing which one you like? I mean, what are the kind of protocol?
So I don't know much about these companies, but I guess the first question is, what's your time frame of trading, right? Are you doing daily, weekly, monthly, long term? What type of trading time frame are you interested in?
Swing. Swing trading mostly, and then options sometimes.
Okay, so swing trading shares, I assume.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would be looking at right now. I've got the 180 set it up, right? One thing that I'm really noticing here is MJ looks like it has more volatility than YOLO. They do have a very similar trend. It looks like
Mhm.
YOLO could be moving ahead of MJ. Also, what I would look at is support levels and resistance levels. Currently,
Mhm.
with it being at highs, I'd be looking for support. Where is this going to come down to get into, right? Where is going to be a good entry point? Um, One thing that I'm noticing the difference between these two charts is this one here, MJ. Oops, wrong one. It's got a gap to fill, right? That gap must be filled. So YOLO hit a high up here, but it's wicked. MJ hit a high, but they're bodies. So YOLO's coming down quicker, in my opinion, whereas MJ. So let me see if I can explain this. YOLO has the wicks, and they bounced from the high quickly, and then now they're already starting downward. Whereas MJ, it closed bodies up there, and it's just been body closing all the way down. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I find it really helpful to look at them, side by side. Similarly, you could look at Apple versus Microsoft, side by side, and kind of, any two companies or entities. I find looking at them in one cohesive kind of space is really helpful.
Now, if you've got multiple monitors, I think that's the best way to look at it, or like
Okay.
a bigger monitor. So I've got a 34-inch widescreen that I can put basically 2 charts on one screen, and then I've got 2 other screens where I'll put 1 chart each screen. And that way
Mhm.
I can look at the chart in a much larger fashion and see things a lot easier. I don't like to squeeze my charts together like this. This is just an example, but if I were to do that, for example, instead of having two windows like this, I would just leave it as one, and then I would detach, right? So I can detach, and you see it's got me, I've got a detachment here, right? You see this? Like I've got another window, and
Oh, I see.
I can pull this to my other screen over here. Whoa, what just happened? Ay, ay, ay. Okay, and I can pull that to my other screen and look at it, like this, right? I mean, it's a lot easier for me to see movement. It's a lot easier to see resistance and support levels. It does have an uptrend, right? So if I were to pick between the two, let me just take another look at YOLO. So we're looking at about $10, 3.5 months ago. Yeah, it looks like YOLO moves not as volatile as MJ, right? So take a look at this again. See, the movement here is a lot more shallow versus MJ. It's got a lot more peaks and valleys. All right, is this the same industry, these two tickers?
Yeah, I think they're both cannabis ETFs.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Sorry, I just forgot my question.
No worries. Well, I can say that this does look like an uptrend.
I actually remembered it now. So if you were interested in pursuing an option on MJ, isn't the lower volatility better because then the price might not be as high as a more volatile stock, so you're paying a lower premium?
No, you want volatility with options because if the stock doesn't move in a drastic way, you're not going to see returns as quickly. I think what you're probably referring to is implied volatility. So the lower IV is, the cheaper the premium is for the contract. All right. So you want volatility, and you also want low IV. Right. So you don't want to get into the trade at a high IV number because you're paying too much for the contract. So you wait for the IV to drop, and then hopefully it's at a good level to buy. So one thing I would say with MJ, it's definitely going to fill this gap 100%. It's already on its way down, in my opinion. I think it touches this support level, or this trend line rather, and it's going to bounce off of that. That's my opinion on this.
Is that 1554?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's also got resistance acting as support, right? You got this resistance level, or this area of resistance. That right there is going to act as support, in my opinion. But anytime you see something gap like this, and there's nothing in between the candles, it's just empty area, that's a gap. And with gaps, they always get filled at some point in the future, whether it be, and typically from what I'm used to seeing, it happens sooner rather than later.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
No problem.
Really awesome.
Okay, let me see if I can fly through the YouTube questions real quick, since I don't pay as much attention to that. And then I can jump to, I got about 10 DMs as well. So just give me a few minutes here, guys and gals, and I will get to as many questions as possible, as quickly as possible. Let's see.
Quick question on the same screen that you're showing on this ticker.
Okay.
There was a gap earlier. I don't know. Like, see, there's a gap kind of on the left side of the screen. Could you show us
right
how
here?
that gap filled? Yes. Where did that gap fill? For example.
Okay. It looks like it took a while, but it definitely filled. Right there.
Thank
So
you.
you're welcome. The thing with cannabis stocks is they're not quick to move, right? Right now, with Biden coming into office and a lot of Democrats pushing marijuana recreational usage or at least decriminalization, that kind of thing, that's what's putting wind underneath the wings of MJ. But since it hit a high back in June, it's just been falling, right? And then not until recently, um, and what's this? Right after election, it started pumping, and it's been going since. So you can see the correlation between why it started moving, right? Um, so hopefully that answers the question. Let's see. So in an option, where do I pick my stop loss? Well, I'll be honest, I don't pick stop losses because I don't necessarily buy options. Most of my stuff are share swings and selling cash secured puts. I do buy option leaps, but that's got a year out, so I see money on it no matter what. Um, let's see. For example, I'm in a position right now with Apple. I get a leap on Apple, and I'm showing a $291 return. I've been in it for, when did I get into this? When did I buy you, Apple? Order history is what I'm looking for. Right here. So I got into Apple on the 6th, January 6th. And this leap is already showing $291 return. This is why I like leaps. This is a year out, right? A year from January to January. At some point, I will see profit on these, so I don't really pay attention to stop losses. That's kind of useless to me. I don't believe in losing. So um, out of all the trades that I've been in this year, I haven't lost one. But my stuff is a lot safer. I do leaps, I do shares. I can hold shares as long as I need to. Leaps, I buy tons of time, and selling premium. I have a management strategy where if I get a sign, I start selling other positions against those shares, and at some point, it's going to show me realized profits. So I don't have stop losses. Some people look at taking 10 or 20% stops. I guess really the best answer to the question is look at support levels. If you're buying an option or buying a call, where is the next support level? Maybe you should set your stop there. And that's for Diego Quintero. Okay, so Daniel Crow, Sunrun, you're going to have to give me ticker symbol. Snap and Zoom. So I think Snap's in an uptrend as well. We might be seeing a cup and handle here. Let me clear this. It's not a great one, but here to here, right? So it's about a week's worth of a cup, a jagged cup, I might add, with a handle. That's potential for that type of chart pattern. If I go further out, let's look at the 1 year. The 1 year it's showing a cup and a handle, right? It's a little bit cleaner in the 1 year. I'm still bullish on Snap. I like Snap. $48 if you can get it at 48. I think it's going to breach 54, to be honest. Zoom is at a good support level right off the bat. Looking at this chart, it's definitely at a good support level. And as we were talking about before, as far as gaps go, look at this. This one filled a nice gap. Let's see if I can. Well, it's not showing here, but it's showing on the 1 year. Let's clear this. This right here. It cleared it, or filled it rather, pretty quickly back in August. All right, you see how it gapped up, and then it filled it, and then it started making its highs. I know with Zoom going into the SPY, it's probably going to gain some strength. So this could be a great leap. Let's see how much leaps cost for a year out. Probably expensive. Yes, they are. All right, so the other thing that I do when I look at leaps is what's a price level that I think it's going to hit, right? Definitely going to hit 487 at some point. Definitely going to hit 500 at some point. So how much is a $500 strike? 4,200 bucks. That's still expensive. But look at that open interest. That's the best open interest out of the whole entire chart. Right? So I mean, it's you see how quickly and easily I picked that. I just picked a resistance level, so resistance is 502.30 basically, but I just rounded it down to 500. Go to the chart because I know on the chart you're not going to see specifically 502. It's just not going to be there, right? So you have to round to certain numbers in it, and I chose 500, and we're looking at the best open interest, right? So this could be a really good position to get into if you've got the money. I think for $4,200, you're going to see potentially 100% return on this because once it hits the SPY, you got to remember all these institutions are going to have to buy shares out in this when it hits the SPY, just like they're doing with Tesla. So, at some point, this is going to jump back up, in my opinion. If I had the money in my margin account to buy this, I would do it. I don't. I've only got about 3,200, I think, available. So that's not. Unfortunately, I can't get into that, but I think that's a really good leap to buy. And I'm probably going to alert that, to be honest. Because like I said, this is at a great support level. I mean, just look at how well this is literally right on it. And it's that gap that got filled too, right? I mean, you've got solid support. This area, extend that oval out so you can see it. And this whole entire consolidation area, I mean, this is all consolidation. Let's look closer and see. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just kangarooing, right? Kangaroo is consolidation. I think we see this bounce. Does anybody know when Zoom gets put into the SPY? What's their inception date? Anybody know that answer? Okay.
As
Hey,
far as I know, it's just
Hospital?
rumors right now.
Oh, just rumors. Okay.
Yeah, there is no specific date on that yet.
Hey, Hostel, sorry I missed, what was the leap and the ticker?
Zoom,
Okay.
leap of January 2022, and I'm saying the 500 strike. And I'll be honest, I mean, you could kind of calculate the Greeks and see how much it'll be worth of it if it tests 588 or 580 area. I mean, if it hits 500 within a month or two from 3 at this current price, you're going to see easily 100% return on that. Easy. This is why I really, really like leaps. So as I grow my account, my margin, I've got multiple accounts. I got retirement accounts, multiple retirement accounts. I've got one margin account. I've got a cash account on Webull that I do just shares on. So I got multiple accounts. The one account that I want to do, or that I only do leaps on, is my margin. So, this would be a really great one in my opinion for a leap.
Why is that? Why is that on your margin?
There's particular types of plays that I do for my accounts, right? I mean, I've got 3 retirement accounts. I've got a cash account and I've got a margin. My cash account is just shares. My retirement accounts are cash secured puts, shares, covered calls, and then my margin account is spreads, diagonals, calendars, leaps. Right? So I split the types of trades up that I'm doing in different accounts so that I don't make the mistake. Like I'm willing to make mistakes and get a little bit riskier on a margin account, and I'm not using margin. Don't think that I'm using margin. I'm not doing that. But I'm willing to make mistakes on this account versus my retirement account. Right? I'm not going to lose money in my retirement account. I'm not going to put myself in the position to potentially lose money in a retirement account. But with a margin account that's taxable, whatever, uh, I'll take a little bit more risk and I'll do something there that I wouldn't normally do in a safer account, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, Hostile, in cash account, you said you buy shares. So you don't usually buy like 100 shares or something like that?
Sorry, say that again. There was interruption. Can you repeat yourself, Johan?
We'll do later. My son is bothering. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, let me see if I can get through these. So Aaron Salmon or Salmon, not sure how you say last name. I do use a scanner, but the criteria it's just based off of my type of trading. So I don't know what kind of trading you're doing, but if you're interested in trying to understand how to utilize a scanner, I have a scanner or a video I made on a standard deviation channel scanner. And you can look and see how I created that. Just go onto my YouTube channel, and it's there on my stocks playlist. Should be easy for you to find. All right, so let me jump back to Discord here, voice channel. Looks like I got a lot of DMs too. All right, so DDDD, triple D. Ooh, I don't know about that, Mike. I think this is coming down. There's no way it stays up there. I don't know anything about this company either. True Momentum is at a overbought. MACD is really wide, more wide than I've ever seen it, or that its history has seen. Let's go to a year. Yeah, I mean, look how wide that MACD is. That's got to come down, in my opinion. Jamind, not sure how you say your name. Let me go ahead and unmute you then. So you want to look at Facebook and Disney.
Yeah, thanks.
I think in a little while you're going to see this retest 307, but not anytime soon. At least another month or two before it really starts to try to breach that high. It was in a upward channel, broke out of it downward. So, you're probably going to see this go sideways, some kangaroo jumps here and there. So give it another month or so before you start trying to mess with that. Disney. I expect Disney to start coming down soon. The market as a whole, in my opinion, is going to become bearish at some point in the near future. Not everything's going to follow in that direction, but stuff that's been around for a while, that's part of ETFs that have a long-term market exposure, expect that kind of stuff to fall. New stuff or things that have been ripping and rocking lately, maybe not. hard to say. But this one, I mean, it's got a couple of step ups here. I call these steps. These big rips here.
Do you think the Biden inauguration, which will be in a week and a half, you think that'll have any impact on you? You talk about the market becoming bearish soon.
I don't think that particularly will, but I think the assumption of what he may or may not do once he gets in there, that could become negative news for the market. But I don't know. I mean, one thing, when I think something's going to affect the market in a specific way, it turns around and does the opposite thing. So I don't try to predict what some kind of future thing is going to have on the market. I look at actual movements. I look at actual indications of strength and weakness. I don't use news or dates or things of that nature. It's just, to me, that's a risky way of trading. Like if I'm trying to do news, bad idea. If I'm trying to do ER, bad idea, because it's all speculative trading, and I don't get into speculation.
So you don't really pay attention to fundamentals. You just like more like at the technical side of things.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
fundamentals are great to know, especially if you're going to consistently trade one stock over and over and over and over. Yeah, it's probably good to understand the fundamentals of that company. But my type of trading doesn't require me to necessarily care too much about the fundamentals. I need to know if the company's in good standing, if it's potential bankruptcy, or, I look at past earnings, I look at revenue, I look to see if they're surviving, if they're going to continue to survive. Those are key things to know. If I don't think they're a good survival company,
Mic on.
then I'm not interested in even trading it, right? So some fundamental is important, absolutely, but unless you're long-term holding something for a year or 2 years or 5 years, fundamentals are really not as important as technical analysis is.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's see. Looked at that. AR. Somebody wants me to look at AR. I have a call for 7.5, looking to see if it will bounce up on Monday. Expiration is coming up this upcoming week. Well, Marquise, it's hard to understand where you're at in the theta decay when you purchased this. What was the price when you purchased it? Are you up or down on the option? I'm going to need to know that information to be able to answer your question properly. So hopefully you heard that.
Yeah, hey, it's Marquise. Yeah, I purchased it like a week and a half ago. I purchased it at the very fall down of it, so I got it in at like 0.5 on the contract. I got two of them, and
What
I'm
was the
down right
stop
now
price?
by. Oh, let me pull that up.
Or just give me the date and I can look.
Yeah, I got it on 015.
Okay. So it looks like
I filled at 0.5.
you should have got out the following day.
Yeah.
That would have been the time, because it ripped afterwards, looks like. Right?
Yeah.
Let me see if we can go closer in here. So what day of the week was that? Looks like you got in on Tuesday, maybe? The 5th? Yeah.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Yeah, that would have been the time to have gotten out, or Tuesday Shit, you got in here. You got in this day. Right here.
I think it was at the very end because it was up like 0.35 and it crashed all the way down to 0.05, and that's when I bought in.
Okay, so at the end of the day, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It would have been probably best to have gotten out that following Thursday, it looks like. And what's your expiration? The 15th?
Yeah. Because right now I'm only down $5, so
You're going to be down a lot more than that when the market opens, regardless if the price is moving up because of theta. Let's see. What was your strike?
7.5.
You're going to be down another $3 on top
Yeah,
of
because I
that.
tried getting out of it, but it basically it's at nothing right now, so it's at 0.02.
Yeah, that's probably. I mean, this is why I don't like doing short-term expirations because if it doesn't go your way pretty quickly, it's a losing trade.
Yeah.
So, I prefer a lot more time. Now, if you have some kind of like good reasoning why you think it's going to pump the next couple of days and be in a week or two contract, then have at it. If you're going to day trade something, then a week or two, that's totally fine. But I wouldn't be trying to hold something for too long with a short expiration. I don't personally see it really making it too far up from where it's at. I mean, long term. So if I look at, I think it's a 5 year or 3 year. Yeah, 3 year. We're seeing. I mean, it's got resistance at 818, so it could retrace this week and then start pumping. But I just don't think you have enough time, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to get out of it now. So as soon as I'm in profits or even above 0.02, I'm going to get out of it.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. I mean, I think you're going to see it move up some. It looks like it might potentially be crossing the MACD.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, I mean, try to get out when you see something, some kind of return on it, whether it
Yeah.
be, still a loss or profits. Just take something back off the table.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's see. TTCF. Oh, are we talking about a 2-month cup and handle here? Tough time. Are you in here? Tough? Is he in here? Yeah, tough. Are you there? You got voice? I'm not sure if you're looking at this huge thing here. If you're referencing that as a cup and handle, I can see that. But this is a much longer term cup and handle. It's huge. But we could definitely see a pop on it. Just I have no time frame on when. But if this is what you're referencing, then yes, I do see what you're looking at. JL1, you in here? So I get a lot of DMs here, so I'm trying to answer people's questions. Yeah, JL1, you got voice? So as
I think he's having a hell of a year. Take Bobby. What's up?
We really thought you were going to.
if you're not talking to me, please mute your mic. All right, JL1. So yes, I said spread times delta. I don't understand what you mean by which do I select. You have to clarify that. I'll come back to you. Yeah, clarify that for me, and I'll come back. So CLSK. I expect this one to come down. It's probably not going to create any lows, but at least somewhere around support, rather 24 area. Whoa, it's paying a pretty good premium. I know that, but it's at a high. I'd say it's probably going to try and retest this support line down here, or might see a 50% retracement somewhere. Let's check that out and see what it looks like. Yeah, probably see Clean Spark come down to 33, under 34. That's my guess. Let's see, F sell. Same thing. I think Clean Spark and F sell are pretty much similar stuff. I expect this to come down some from its high. It does have an uptrend. I'm just not sure what these things are all hype, right? I mean, there's what are the fundamentals behind this? Are they good? I mean, you know, looking at ER here, it's negative. It's a negative number, and it's worse than earnings estimates. That's not good. Same thing here. I mean, you know, that's not something I would stay away from it personally, but you know, if you guys like risk, then by all means, jump into it. I'm gonna jump back over to YouTube. Let's see. When do I like win for long term? I don't do long term, unfortunately. I don't. My money's better utilized swinging. I can compound my returns a lot quicker than to hold something in one position for a long time, unless it's Tesla. Tesla obviously is one of those where it just pumps and pumps and pumps. You get a dump every once in a while, and when it does that, it's time to get in. But I don't really see too much in this one that I care for. It did breach support, which acts as resistance in this scenario. So I think the next resistance level you're looking at is 135 on win. I think I went over PLTR already. Please reference the video after it's created. PSTH. New stock, no real information on it, in my opinion. It's just an uptrend. At some point, this is going to retrace. So I would wait for that to happen before trying to get into that if you're bullish. IDEX. Please mute your mic. This is another one of those. I don't do penny stocks. I'm afraid to give an analysis on this to anyone because it's just, I mean, look at it's like volatility just for a little bit and then it just nothing sideways and then volatility, you know, and then at some point here it's going to turn into nothing again. I don't like these kinds of stocks. It's just a waste of time. You know, if you got into this back in July, you'd have been waiting on it to show profits until November. You know, that's just a waste of your money sitting there doing nothing. So I'd avoid that personally. I went over AMD, I think. No, I didn't. I did go over Disney though, so let's check AMD out. Okay, so AMD is above resistance, but it's having trouble getting past all-time highs. This one, I'm long-term bullish on AMD, but it's just it keeps creating highs, right? there's no way for me to do an analysis on highs. I need this thing to do peaks and valleys for me to really give a solid guess on where it's going to move. Let's try a Fibonacci. $100. I see it hitting $100 potentially. Short term, yeah, $100 in the next month or so, maybe. We'll see AMD there, no problem. I mean, it's in an uptrend. It's been in an uptrend since July. So unless the whole entire tech industry takes a huge hit, AMD is going to keep pumping. Microsoft will, Nvidia will, that whole area. Intel's the only one that's probably going to shit the bed some more. All right, going down, Neo. I know this one's at highs. Yeah. So that one looks like I see a gap here in the 1 year. Let me see what it looks like. So no gaps here, but there is a gap here. Small one. I think we'll see this come back down to $53 area maybe, and then start its way back up again. Pretty bullish on Neo, to be honest. They have really nice premiums as well. I mean, 5 days from now, premiums $435. Wow. At the money, that is. And if I go to February, at the $53 area, so $50 area, it's still nice premium when I'm selling. Really solid premium. I like Neo a lot. Bullish for sure. Wait for a retracement on Neo. Some kind of, I don't know, 1 or 2% drop, 3.5 at most. That's the time to get back in bullish, in my opinion. Bio. Definitely in an uptrend. I don't know anything about this company. It's really expensive. Definitely having trouble at resistance. Not a lot of volume. Under 1 million. I don't know. This needs more time to play out. I would wait for support level somewhere, or wait for it to retrace off of this resistance point where it's at currently. So maybe look at that and wait and see what happens. Plug. This one will fall. Nothing keeps pumping like that unless it's Tesla. MACD is really wide. So the thing I want everybody to understand with true momentum, it's very similar to RSI, except it tells me trend direction, but it has an overbought and oversold level, and it's overbought right now. So, being at a high and being so overextended like that, I expect some retracement on that one. 100% sure on that. I'd be surprised if it doesn't. All right, so I'm going to come back to the YouTube channel and go to the voice here. Who has questions before I go to my DMs?
Hostile, I sent you a DM about Fastly. Could we go over that stock?
Sure. Okay, so this one, I'm hoping that it bounces off this $79 to $77 area. As you see, I mean, I've already got analysis done here. All of these rectangles, it's every time it's touched or went through these support levels. Let me get rid of this one actually. Yeah. Okay. So every time it's went through this particular one, it's did a nice bounce, minus this one area right here, minus that one. I think it's got a ton of strength on the support level. I expect to see this fall below this somewhere. When it does, I'll be coming. I will be bullish once it breaches this. I don't know, is this 77 and a half? I'm bullish when it
Okay.
goes through that.
You guys see it exceed that 105 level?
Will it go to 105? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, very potentially. I mean,
All right.
definitely. I think you'll see it at least right here on this 102 area. You'll see it touch.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else here got questions? And who was that asked? So I can make sure that look at the DM.
Jagger.
Jagger. Okay. Find that one. All right, gotcha. Okay, who else?
Can we look at Walmart?
Sure. Let's see. Walmart's not really showing me much. There's not. I mean, it's in an uptrend for sure. Let's see. Definitely in an uptrend, but what I don't. Well, so you see these two indicators are kind of against each other. So this is saying it's getting near the overbought area, while the MACD is saying, oh, it's starting to go into the bullish range. So I say we expect to see it touch this support line somewhere 144 to 145 area and then bounce off of it, go up more. I don't see Walmart falling too much. It'll ride this trend line in my opinion. I mean, it's been doing
Thank
it.
you.
You're welcome. It's been doing it since March. It did a high, touched the trend line, bounced, did a high, almost touched the trend line and bounced, did a high, touched the trend line. It's kind of just hovering on top of that trend line. So I don't see this falling. There's no reason for Walmart to fall. Okay, who else?
I had a question about JAG-X.
JAG-X. Well, I don't like this at all. To be honest, penny stocks. I stay far away. But there is a huge gap right here from 270 to 323. That will definitely be filled. You got huge MACD's spread. It's in overbought territory. This is a bearish. I think this is very bearish now.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Pins.
What is it? Pins?
Yep.
It might be potentially forming a cup and handle here. It's got the cup. Now we just need a handle. So if you see movement tomorrow sideways, that is very potentially a cup and handle. But right now it's got the cup. I don't see anything else though. Just a gap here, a gap up here. I think you need to let this one play out some more.
Can you look at XBEV? For me, at least on the 10 and 20-day chart, I see a cup and handle forming, and the volume checks out as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It could be a cup and handle. I think we're going to see this fall, though, one more time. Well, I'm 50-50 on that, actually. You're going to have to let it play out a little bit more. I don't know. This isn't a great cup and handle. It looks more like a saucer with a handle. I'd like to see this touch support one more time before I would go bullish on it. So the $40 area. I mean, let's draw a trend line here and see. Maybe somewhere around 43 or 44. Definitely, I think it's going to come back down and touch this trend line. But I do believe that it's going to follow behind Neo, in my opinion. It's just a lot. It lags. So kind of really good premium on that. That's solid premium for me. I don't know about y'all though. If you're buying, that is. Yeah, I think this is bullish for sure. It's just at some point it gets volatile and then just kind of dies off, and then gets volatile and dies off. So keep that in mind.
Can you look at QS and AI?
Okay. It's at support. So it looks like it created. Crap. That right there bounced off of this resistance level. Let me just draw these. See that? Use resistance as support. And now it's using support as support. So it'll be interesting to see what it does from this point. Nice implied volatility though. Holy smokes. She's expensive. Don't buy it. Whoa. I need to show somebody this. Hold on a second. Okay. I'm sorry, what was the other one? AI?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me just write this down real quick. All right, AI. It's having trouble at this resistance level. I think we see it fall back down to maybe 135 area. But I don't like these new things. There's not a lot of historical data for me to do an analysis on. So that's a very short-term estimation that I don't think is very reliable. Okay. I'll take one more.
Would you mind?
Sorry. I'll take one more question before I jump to DMs.
Would you mind looking at Tractor Supply and Chewy?
What's the ticker for Tractor Supply?
TCSO.
TCSO.
TSCO. Sorry.
Is that resistance? I think it will fall. But it does have an uptrend, so look for a retracement and bounce. Look for it to touch that trend line. So go on your chart, draw out the trend line just like this. And when it touches that trend line, that's probably a good area it's going to bounce off of, in my opinion. And Chewy, you said. This is a downtrend. Definitely. I think you might see it come down to $72 area potentially. Depends how well it holds that downtrend line. If it breaks through it, then it's a different analysis needs to be done.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so
Can you check out CLSK?
I did go over that already. If you
Uh,
could reference the video once I get it posted.
okay.
Can you do Mara?
Sure. Again, this is crypto. Crypto is super hyped right now. I'd stay out of that. Wait for it to fall. It's definitely going to fall. It's just a matter of when, not if. At least to $19, $20. At least. It's already on its way back down, in my opinion. It's at 26. So, I mean, it reached 29, then fell. I still think it's overbought a lot. You know, MACD's really spread wide. Momentum is overbought like crazy and in the red zone. So I'd look for crypto to start falling soon. Let's see. Somebody else have a question?
What do you think about Roku?
Roku, this is another one of those that keeps breaching highs and just there's no end in sight to it.
Exactly.
It's definitely gonna fall from here, in my opinion. I think we're gonna see it maybe touch 361 and then bounce again. Let me see what leaps on this looks like, just for out of curiosity. Whew, pricey. Stay away from that. Not interested in that expensive stuff. July. Let's take a look at July. It's still expensive. Wow.
Yeah, I usually scalp it, but what do you think long term?
I mean, long term, this thing's been pumping for a while, so I definitely think it's going to continue to do that. I don't see any. I mean, that's just its trend, right? So until it breaks its trend, until it breaches a level. So I would say if it breaches below 317, then you're looking at a downtrend for sure. If it breaches its resistance point of 361, well, it still has potential to jump back up. I would say it's going to use 361 as support and then go back up.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Hey, what are your thoughts on Nike?
It's at highs. This is another one of those uptrends, long-term uptrends. I mean, Nike's a solid company. Everybody knows that. And it's just been uptrending, right? I mean, there's no. I mean, it kind of went sideways back in April, May. After that, went sideways, and then August time frame till now, it's just been up. I don't see this tanking at all. I don't see it breaching support levels. I would say it uses this trend line as support. It's about all I can say. I mean, it's a blue chip stock, so this is just a up and up and up type of company. All right.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
No problem.
Hoster, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you please check Facebook?
I did check Facebook already. Please refer to the video once I get it posted.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. So I'm gonna jump to my DMs here. I don't know.
I sent a DM, but I have a different one. Can you do DraftKings, please?
You said you sent me a DM?
Yeah, but we already covered it, so that's why I say, can we do DraftKings?
All right. So this one, it did a 50% retracement already. I think it's gonna breach 55 soon and retest 64 area. Maybe have a little trouble at 60. But I do think we see this continue up. Who was that just asked?
It's Grace.
Grace. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just make sure I move the DM off so I don't go over it again. Let's see here. Hith. Let's see. What's TA on snow? Snow. Snow's in a downtrend. Let me draw the downtrend first. Not sure where this is going to stop falling to, but what I can say is there's some clear indications that it's going to continue downward. So it used this level as support. It bounced, but then hit this downtrending support and it became resistance because of the downtrend, right? So you're seeing this cross point right here, this intersection of support level on a downtrend downtrend line. This will continue downward. To how low, I don't have that answer, but I do believe it will continue down. It looks like it could potentially come down to maybe the 235 area. That's probably not. I'd probably go with, well, I don't know. I mean, it's not too far from its last support area of 265, so it's not unheard of that we see something like that happen. I let this one play out some more. Hith.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
uh, so I'm JL. I sent a DM.
Okay.
I was just curious. You mentioned something about the formula. If you can just go into snow, since we're already on there. You said it's something above. Um, so yeah. So in terms of the spread, is it between like the ask bid of the actual stock price, or is it actual strike price that you determine that you multiply with a delta?
No, so it's bid minus ask. So in this scenario, it's 70. So 1300 from 1370 is $70. 70 times 50. That one 1135. 735.
Wait,
70
where are you getting those numbers?
50. Oh, 3500. Right here. So
Oh, got
1300
it.
minus 1370 or whatever,
Mhm.
you get $70. The difference between
Yeah.
the two. Multiply that times the delta, which is a 50. So 70 times 50 is 3500. So if it's whatever the number you get, so right now it's 3500. If it's less than that, so if you're trying to buy options and the option price is less than that number, it's a fair price or a great price. 3500 is the quote unquote fair price. If I'm selling premium, it needs to be over 3500 for me to get a fair price. So it kind of, I mean, hard to
So
say.
you calculate that, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say hard to say sometimes because the IV being so high, the
Mm.
delta really gets adjusted in a way that I don't. Sometimes this formula isn't greatest. I'd say 70% of the time this formula works. But generally speaking, if you're trying to buy options, you shouldn't be buying at 94%, right, which is what it's at. On the overall chart, it says 79. So maybe it's still a okay fair value, but IV rank is at 60 percentile. I don't recommend buying options over 50 percentile of rank. So implied
Okay, so you
volatility.
just
If you,
calculate it. Yeah.
well, I was just gonna say, IV crush is real and it hurts. And if it happens to you, you're gonna feel it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely felt it. So you just calculate at the money strike.
Well, no,
Um,
you calculate the strike that you want to buy.
oh, got it. Got it. That makes sense. Okay. Sorry, I have one more question.
Sure.
It's a technical question. Um, so you kept referring to the true momentum. Is that like a stock TOS indicator or study, or is it something that you had
It's a script that
created?
somebody built, and we have it. I'm pretty sure it's on our scripts channel. Let me
Oh,
just
cool. Okay.
let me go make sure TOS. So it's under education, TOS scripts, and then in that channel, you can search true momentum maybe. Let's see. I don't know why this is so messy. There's a lot of chat in here, and oh, that explains it. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find it here for you. Channel. It should be in here, man. Where is it? There's a lot of people talking in this channel. I swear I've cleaned this up before. Guess we're gonna have to go back in there and clean it up some more. I'll tell you what. I will write this down and I'll post it on my channel since I can just easily share it. That'll be the easiest
Cool.
way
Thank
for
you.
me. No problem.
Yeah, I got one more question, man.
All right, just give me 1 second. Let me true share to.
Thank you, Hostel. If you post that again, because I need it too.
Okay. Okay. Who was it that had the question?
I did.
I'm sorry. Who's that? Clean
Clean
McDaniel?
McDaniel. It wasn't about a specific stock. It was more so like a general question about like I'm trying to figure out how to build up a long-term portfolio and trying to figure out what stocks to put in there or not avoid or not avoid for a long-term portfolio. Do you have kind of any advice on kind of starting to get that going, the long-term retirement plan portfolio?
Well, I don't do long-term trading. I have a retirement account that I trade, a swing trade. I think there's a lot more opportunity in compounding your returns than just letting something sit there and gain value. With that being said, there's only really two that I. If you're not talking, please mute your mic. Um, with that being said, there's two that I would say are gonna definitely see nice returns over the years. Tesla and Apple. So when you see both of them do some kind of retracement, if you're really adamant on going long on something, those are going to be the ones I would recommend. So wait for a retracement on those and then potentially do that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Hello, Hostel. Speaking of Tesla, do you think Tesla's gonna? First of all, do you know why it rallied up so much in the last week?
It's those hedge funds and big um, investment firms that are still trying to buy it up. They have to continue buying it.
So you think it still has more upside?
Probably. But you know, the higher up it goes, the riskier it becomes if you're bullish. If that makes sense. And I wouldn't bet against Tesla. So I wouldn't be bearish on Tesla ever. But at the point that it's at, the higher up it goes, the riskier it becomes jumping into it. So I'm certain there will be a retracement. It's just a matter of how big will it be. If it goes to 1,000, we might not see the $525 level that I was talking about. It might go to 600 something at that point. So, you know, it's hard to say because it's still going up. But the moment it stops going up, then I can say, all right, maybe a couple, 2 or 3 levels we expect to see it hit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just wanna, cause I didn't know it was gonna go up so high, so I sold like half of my positions, and now I'm just waiting. I'm kind of hoping it goes down a little bit so I can get in again.
Well, I'm in the same boat. I mean, I unloaded most of my stuff at 650 to 700 bucks when I had 75 shares, so you can imagine how much money, is still on the table at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
I could have seen another $200 or $300 times 75 had I held all of it. But, you know, I'm cool. I made money. I made good returns, so I'm happy. I got no problem with it. So I'm in the same boat. I'm waiting for a retracement so I can jump back in and ride the wave back up.
Yeah, I just oh, I'm not gonna go back in right now. Even if it is gonna go to 1,000, I think it's still a little bit too risky for that. No.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'll just wait then. Yeah, I got you, man.
Okay.
Hey, what's the easiest way to replicate your view? Is it with the scripts or what?
What do you mean, like my charting?
In your Thinkorswim?
So all I really have is MACD and the true momentum. The volume is just separated from the main chart, and that can be done in the settings equities tab. And you just have to check a volume subgraph or move volume subgraph, something like that. Let me see. Let me see what I. Yeah, you would check show volume subgraph, I think is how that works. And as far as these dotted lines that go across the chart, that's the standard deviation channels. And if you're interested in setting those up, I have 2 videos that explains what they are, how to set them up, and then another video that tells you how to actually set up a scanner that utilizes those standard deviation channels. So those are on my education channel. You can find them. They're a little. I think they're pinned actually. So if you're interested in those, but as far as my charts go, I mean it's nothing special and fancy. I'm going to share the true momentum script, but the MACD is a default script on Thinkorswim.
All right, cool.
Hostile, what about the script for the IB labels? Do you have them in the education?
I think those are also on my channel pinned. Let me double check.
Thank you, Hostile.
You're welcome. Yeah, look on my pin on my channel in the pin messages, current IV and IV rank. Dates are 12/6, so you can add those in as well.
Thank you. Thank you. 12/6, right? Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Somebody wanted to look at CGC. I think, well, number one, we've got a gap. This gap definitely will be filled. Again, probably sooner rather than later. Once it fills that, it's at a couple of resistance levels, which become support. So if this continues in an upward motion, these will become support levels. These two here. I want to show you guys a gapper that happened recently. This one. Let's go to 10 day. So this thing had a huge gap. And you see it filled it after about a week. I think it opened up on Monday. It ripped. So it ripped pre-market, opened up, made a high, and then fell downward, right? Filled the gap almost perfectly. It did drop below it a little bit. Now it's going to bounce off of it, and it's going to refill the gap that it made when it was coming down, which I'm going to show you. Oops. Just right here. It's going to refill that. This is a ETF times 2 gold miner. So I'm pretty bullish on precious metals, but I expect this gap to fill this week. I'm in a option position on this, so I'll be exiting it soon, hopefully next couple of days personally, but I expect this gap to be filled momentarily. Just like like I said, when this one happened, I knew it was gonna get filled at some point. I saw it gap up like that morning before I could even, because I wanted to get into it. I was looking at it, I'm like, I want to get into this thing, and I want to play it running up. And before I could even get into it, it gapped. So I'm like, well, that's out of the question. So same thing happens here. It hit a high. It's falling. It filled its gap. Now I got in on Friday, somewhere down here, $70. I think it was my entry when the stock price was at 70. That's when I got in. It fell below it. Now I'm one of the positions. So I got two options. One of them is up. One of them is almost break even, but still a little red. So once it fills this gap, I'll be at a good 50% return on those positions. Just wanted to share that. I love gaps. They love being filled. Let's say that. It's a vacuum. All right, I got one more DM here. Dane, you get a 25 call, 445, a 562 average cost, 115 expiration date, up 5%. I don't know what ticker you're talking about here, so you're gonna have to tell me. You gave me everything but a ticker, so can't really do much with that, unfortunately.
Can you look
That
at
was on Mara, but you kind of already answered that already.
Okay, all right.
But if you could do Twitter, that'd be awesome, though.
Sure.
Thank you.
I like Twitter. Actually, no, take that back. I want Twitter to fall further. I think it will. I think Twitter's on its way down, personally. It's at 49. I think it's gonna. I'd like it. I'd like it under 42, 44, 42, somewhere there, and then I'll get into a swing position, an option swing, so a cash secured put for maybe a month or two out. Just kind of briefly looking at how much that is worth. I go to March, I get $385 at its current price, but I expect it to fall further, and I'd like to get into something like that.
So you think 42 is its support level right now?
Potentially. I mean, look, we've got 46 is one, 44.58, 40 under 43, and then Yeah, and then 40, 39 roughly. So it's got to break multiple levels, but a lot of these that it needs to break are pretty weak. So I don't see it having trouble losing or increasing selling pressure in that scenario. I mean, it's cresting. It hit a high, and now it's cresting. You know, like a wave. When a wave hits its high, then it starts to crest and creates the foam. That's what this is doing.
Gotcha. Okay, so I have a position in it that let me see here. Oh shit! I got an expiration of 122, average cost 118. Definitely down pretty heavy on it. Think I should just hold it and let it ride out.
How long have you been in it?
Let's see. A little less than a week, 4 days.
How bad percent wise are you down on it?
Getting close to 40% on it. I mean, I got a little bit of time. I'm hoping it starts hitting some support on it and gets going up a little bit. And
For Twitter?
yeah, trying to just. I mean, I'm not trying to get a full profit on it, but I'm trying to just see if it'll jump up a little bit to get rid of a little bit of negative equity in it.
Well, there's a couple of choices you need to make. Do you want to take losses at 50%? Do you want to take losses when it hits support at 45? Do you want to keep holding it? The longer you hold it, the more you lose, regardless if it, I mean, even if it goes up tomorrow, is that going to make up for the loss that you had over the weekend with Theta? You know, so it's not necessarily a great position to be in, especially with, you know, I mean, time frame is not bad, but you got in it when it was at a high. It looks like, so you said 4 days, so 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty close to a high. I would have. I always recommend not getting in anything at a high because you're just asking to take losses on that, especially being bullish. You've been in for 4 days, so 4, 5, 6. You need to be out of this by day 8. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Tuesday. You got till Tuesday before seeing any kind of money return on this at all. Um, Once you get to that 50% expiration time frame, so for example, you buy an option for 20 days out. By day 11, by the end of the day of 11, which means you got 10 more after that, Theta is going to have decayed enough of your contract to where you're going to, if your contract from where it currently is to rip 100%, you might break even. Right? And the likelihood of that happening, especially getting in at a high, is low, if that makes sense. So you got to look at probabilities in these scenarios, and probability, in my opinion, is low of it bouncing. It could, right? Don't get me wrong, it could. I'm not always right, but you know, there's a probability, in my opinion, is not in your favor.
Gotcha, man. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Wait, so hostile. So you, oh, sorry, never mind. I'm just gonna replay the video. I don't want to bother you.
What is it?
I mean, I just heard you talking about Twitter. You said that level, the 40 level, wasn't gonna bounce. I'm not sure. I didn't hear it correctly.
Not sure what you're referencing.
You said it was the probability wasn't is against you in your opinion. Well, you were talking about Twitter, right?
Yeah, it's against him in the sense that the time frame that he has left on the position, having bought it at a high, and it being in a downtrend, coming towards support levels that are weak, and you know, there is a trend line, right? Don't get me wrong, there is a trend line. Let me draw that out for the gentleman that was just asking. Let me get rid of the ones there. So it is in an uptrend, but it's starting to falter, in my opinion. Go back closer in. So, 43. I mean, the next, what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next week, I don't see this thing bouncing until it touches that trend line or gets close to it. It's not close to it. So anywhere from 43 to 45 is the trend line. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Would you take a position at the trend line or below it?
You could take it at the trend line. Just give yourself some time if you're doing options.
Oh, share swing.
I probably wouldn't do shares on this. I'd do CSPs because I don't really care to own shares at this point. I'll take my chances on a CSP first.
Okay.
Can you look at Apple and Piton real quick? For Piton, I think it definitely has a gap to fill up to the 170 area.
Okay, I'll take a look at Piton. I did do Apple earlier, so please
Okay, thank you.
watch the video on that one.
Yeah, my bad.
No worries. Piton, I don't see any gaps. What chart? You see? Yeah, I don't see any gaps in the candles. This one's tricky. I think it'll fall personally. I mean, it's overbought on momentum. It looks like it's starting to crest on the MACD towards the bearish side. I think we're going to see this fall some more. I also think that it potentially will breach the 140 level. So I'd let this play out if you're not in this position. If you're in it, I'd consider determining where is a good place to cut losses.
Yeah, no, I'm not in it.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
You're welcome. All right. Let me jump back to YouTube and see what I got there. I'm sure there's a lot because I haven't looked at it lately. So it did snow, did that. SBE.
It's also the YouTube live too.
Yes, it's streaming the same thing I got on Discord. Switchback energy. I think it's at resistance right now, $42. That's a resistance level. I mean, if you look at everything from the left side, you're looking at resistance, right? I mean, you got two peaks hitting resistance. It broke through it, but then came back down the following day. That tells me that's a weak strength. I think it's going to bounce off this resistance and fall again for switchback energy. What was the other one? XLE. That's an ETF. Energy sector, I think it does the same thing. I think energy is potentially peaking. Exxon was the only thing that I saw so far that could continue upwards. But beyond that, I don't see any other energy areas that are looking positive at this time. All right, let's see. ARC.
Yeah, just finding things for tomorrow, I think.
So there's a couple of people that pay attention to this ETF. I think Mario and Professor, they both look at this ETF. Who was it that was asking about that? Ashton. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Troy Reed. I think Mario and Professor could probably give you a better analysis on this just because they follow it. I can give you a chart analysis. I think it's going to fall. I got two indicators saying it will. The chart being at a high. Another thing is it's traveling in a channel on these deviation lines. So the first standard deviation channel, it looks like it touches the top one, falls, touches the bottom one, bounces, touches the top one, falls. All right, so I think we're going to see it fall here as well. It's touching the top one, so I see some kind of fallback on that. Okay, so Amazon. Yeah, Amazon has been squeezing for sure. I expect some kind of breakout on this soon. If it does not break out, it'll obviously break down, but I think it has more potential to break out than break down. Amazon is a strong moving stock. You know, they're making killer money. I mean, look at the returns on their ER here. I mean, $12.37 per share that they're earning every quarter, or earned last quarter. Estimated was 7.3 rounded, so it almost doubled. I think Amazon has huge potential to retest some highs soon. Whenever whenever QS, I can take a look at JAGX. I think I went over that too, actually. Yeah, I went over JAGX, and I remember saying I didn't like that one. Stay away. MVIS. Oops. This one's tricky. It was in a downtrend. It might be creating a new uptrend. Tomorrow is going to be key on what happens if it retests and breaches its most previous high. It'll continue up. If it breaches its most recent support, then look for a trend change on MVIS. I did go over Facebook. All right, so it looks like I got some messages on the trade floor. Let me see if I can get through those.
What about Pinterest?
I did go over pins already.
Okay.
I'll be posting the recording soon, and this recording is going to have Mario's lecture as well, just in case you guys missed that. All right, let's see. Just going through some of these other messages that I've got messaged on.
I just wanted to say I appreciate the comment and the tabulations you sent on compound interest related to the Roth IRA yesterday or 2 days ago.
Oh yeah, of course. That's actually my favorite thing to do is retirement stuff, because I try to get into people's heads that if people are living for today, they're not thinking about tomorrow. And if you think about tomorrow while making it through the day, if you can make it through the day and be comfortable and think about and plan for tomorrow, you won't have to work till you're 70 or 80 years old, or be struggling to put food on the table when you can't work. That's what's most important to me, is to provide education and ways to sustain your life when you can't get up and go to a job anymore. I think that's one of the most important things that people need to really consider in their future. We can all enjoy ourselves today. We can go on vacation. We can buy fancy stuff. But what happens when we can't work anymore, right? I mean, if we're not preparing for that future, because it is in everybody's future, there's going to come a day when you can't go to work anymore. What happens then, right? I don't expect the government to give me Social Security money. And if they do, it's not going to be enough to survive on. I mean, I've been working since I was 15 years old, and I just don't see it being solvent by then. We're already out of money in this country. Are they going to continue printing for the next 50 to 60 years? I just don't see it. Like, something's got to give at some point, right? So if I can educate everybody to to consider Roth retirements, and at the same time prevent the government from taking more of your money, right? And then you can just, every morning you wake up, they say old people wake up early, right? If you're 60 years old, you're waking up at 5 or 6 a.m. Hey, you get a head start on the market, right? So, I just think it's a perfect thing to do at a retirement age, is to wake up early as you normally would as an old person, go to bed early as an old person, right? And be able to trade the market all day long, or just do it once a week. And if you've got, like my retirement spreadsheet showed, if you do what I'm recommending for the next 15 to 20 years minimum, you'll be able to have millions of dollars in there and make.
11.
Yeah, I mean, if you get
11
11,
million if you do 20 years.
if you got just think about that for a second. If you've got $11 million, imagine if you only did 50% of your account every month and you made a 2.5% return. So that's $5.5 million, right? $5.5 million, oops, times 2.5%. It's $137,000 every month. That's
That's a
insane.
lot of inflation. That could take care of a lot of inflation.
Absolutely. I mean, think about this. And I always say, minimum of 30% return in a year. That's easy. I mean, I can do that with my eyes closed, right? If you got $11 million, you know, times 30%, that's $3.3 million in a year. That's more than enough to live on. You can go to anywhere in the world and on a private jet anytime you want throughout the year with this kind of return. Easy. You'll be living fabulous. So, you know, I would love to talk about retirement all day long. Some people get bored of it, some don't. Some find it riveting. I personally, it excites me to think about my future. It excites me to think about, you know, if I can get like right now, I'm at 100% return for the year. If I get 100% return for 5 years, I'll have $2 or $3 million. Easy. Right? If I do it for 10 years, I'll be at 60 million. Right? 100% is pretty aggressive. Don't get me wrong. But I did it this year. What's to say I don't do it? Or I did it last year in 8 months, mind you. What's to say I don't do it again this year in 12? Right? So, that's the thing here. And with the Roth, every single January 1st, you get to throw another $6,000 at it. Right? And at some point, once you reach, say, 1 million, give or take a couple 100,000, what's $6,000 now? You can stop throwing money at it. You can take out. So in 10 years, you put $6,000 in your account for 10 years. That's 90 grand. Well, in 10 years, if you've got 5 million, hey, I'm going to take that 90K out and I'm going to go have some fun, right? You can do a lot of money with, or you can do a lot of things with $90,000. I mean, you can buy a brand new car off a lot. You can travel to Fiji 4 times in the year, not on a private jet with 90K, but, or you could
You can still do.
yeah, I mean, you could still go do it. You could, I mean, 90K to blow, and it's not taxed, right? It's your contribution, so that's like a bonus to you, right? 10-year bonus. When you hit a million, 2, 3, 5, whatever the number is in 10 years, as long as it's a million, right? Because once you get to a certain threshold of money, $6 grand means nothing.
Every night they do this.
Yeah, $6 grand means nothing at that
I
point.
got a question. Oh, sorry.
But yeah, the trade floor is like where everyone talks about.
Yeah, so I mean, um, I don't want to keep harping, right? I could talk about this all night. I love retirement, but
Yeah, I'm sure the
Dark,
young guys, they want to see
you have
what the
any
plays
tabs
are for tomorrow.
to use
right.
for retirement?
What's that? The collective?
Is there any like tabs that we can look at for like retirement?
Not necessarily. I made a video on the Roth retirement, and I also have a spreadsheet on my channel. Um, really good information. Everybody that's downloaded the spreadsheet and watched the video, every single person said, "Man, I, I had no idea that it was like that." And what I put out there, it's not aggressive, right? A 30% return is not hard at all. I mean, if you're starting out with $6,000, 30% return is $1,800 in a year. The type of trading that I do, I can make around $1,800 in a month, right? So, I've got a particular couple of different tickers that I do weeklies on or bi-weeklies on sometimes, and I'll make anywhere from 100 to 300 off each one. Right, and they cost me anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000, just depends which ones I do. But when you're starting out, you got to start somewhere, obviously. But a 30% return in 10 years, if you just do 30% of your account every year, you invest $6,000 every year on top of that, you're looking at $500,000 in 10 years, right? And once you get to 500K, it's a different thing. Like the game changes, because once you're at 500 grand, your growth becomes more exponential. The more money you got, the more money you make, right? So I mean, at $6,000, you're looking at $1,800 in a year. But if you got 500 grand, now you're looking at 150,000 in a year, right? So then it becomes 650, right? Plus 6,000. So you do that all the way till you get to $1 million, right? And at 30% in a year on $1 million is 300K, and that's the minimum that you should get. That's easy in my opinion. Like I said, I can do that with my eyes closed. It's the 60% and the 100%. That's where it gets a little bit trickier, a little bit harder. It can still be done though.
Thank you.
So I got another question, brother.
Sure.
Is it possible to trade? Is it possible to trade full time, like as your job? Is it possible to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Or not you, or just like I guess not necessarily you or me, or I'm just saying like in general, anybody. Is it possible to or what does that look like? I guess more specifically, what does that look like to trade as a career, or what kind of numbers do you need to bring in, or can you kind of go over that a little bit?
sure. So to trade as a career, you're going to have to be able to cover your expenses. Number one. Number two, you're going to have to be able to set money aside. So give me an example. What do you spend every month as your expenses? Like, food, gas,
Well,
insurance,
I
all that.
just got laid off from work. I work in roofing, the industry, roofing industry. So in Colorado, it just snowed, a bunch of weather, blah 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 blah. So, long story short, I'm not like this is kind of what it is for me. This Discord and options and trading. So my question is, I pulled out my, I bill money for January, but is it, what is it realistic to do it going forward? Or do I need to go back to work? Or you know what I mean? You kind of get what I'm saying about that.
Well, it depends how much money you've got. That's the first thing.
Right. No, that is true. That is true. I agree with that. I'm not banking on like $500,000 either. You know what I mean? Like that's not what I got either. You know what I mean? I'm in a position where I just don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? So
Well, I don't know how much money you may make, and I'm not going to ask, but 100,000, you could probably survive monthly, make 1,500, 2,000. It's not a lot, but you'll be able to get by. At least 100K you're going to need, but that's the type of trading that I would do. Or I don't know if any of you have gotten a chance to look into the selling premium channel only. That's where FaZe Moton and I, we do cash secured puts, covered calls, which is the wheel strategy. There's a staff shares buy channel. There's quite a few staff that sell and buy and sell shares. Mario 94 is one. I taught him how to do everything he taught tonight. I wouldn't say everything, but a lot of what I taught Mario, he is now teaching you guys, right? And he's very successful. And I think he's been here 6 months maybe, and He came in wanting to do options. I taught him the shares, and now he's not interested in options anymore because the shares it's such a consistent return that you can make, I don't know, quickly, right? I mean, a month at most, maybe 2 months if you make a bad choice, but you never lose, right? You just bag hold, average down when you can. But I mean, if you've got 100K, you can easily make 5 grand in a month with swinging shares, right? So, it's utilizing your money and putting it to work in the right areas. And, you know, if you're interested in consistent returns where you don't lose, then pay attention to those two channels, because I think that's where you're going to get the huge value. Buying options, it's a lot more risky. People say that, oh, there's less risk in buying options versus selling, for example. But, you know, we have what's called theta decay. And if you're buying options and it doesn't go your way, guess what? Your money goes bye-bye. Whereas if I'm selling premium, theta decays, it helps me. I gain value, right? So, and with shares, there is no time. You have time on your side, unless, of course, the money you've got invested into the market is what pays your bills. Then technically you do have a time decay based off of debt, right? So there is that to answer. What I will say is, without a lot of money, or a decent amount of money, substantial amount of money to invest with, 100,000, two or three and up, it's going to be hard to survive off of that. It's going to be hard to build that account while you have to continuously take out of it to pay your bills, right? So if you're not to that level, I'd say 500,000 is the target. That's where you can probably say, F this job, I quit. And then you can just start trading. And 30%, again, 30% a year off of 500K is $150,000, right? Now, if you're paying taxes on that, let's say 30% off 150K. That's how much your taxes are going to be, give or take. Or probably a little bit more. I'd say, let's say 35%. We're looking at right around $100,000, $98,000 a year net. So, that's something to think about, right? And you can continuously build that account, right? Because you're not going to be taking out $98,000 a year and then going and blowing it, right? You're going to pay your bills, right? Let's just say 50% of 98,000 is your bills for the year. And that's a high number in my opinion. I think 30,000 is probably, if you got a family, a wife and a kid or something, or two kids, 40, around 40, 45,000 a year is going to be your bills, food, all that stuff. Then you've got half of that left over to reinvest into the market or leave it there until you need it. And while you leave it there, you can allocate some to other positions to grow the account even faster, right? So I just think it's going to be tough to do without that kind of money. So hopefully that helps you answer whatever you had in your mind.
Yeah, I didn't I wouldn't really have like a target answer per se. Like we're doing it one way or the other. Whether I have I don't have that kind of capital regardless, or I'm gonna have to do it regardless. You know what I'm saying? With you got the Discord and all of it. So I appreciate that answer, man. I really do. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, you're welcome. I mean, it's always good to have more income. If you can find another job, even if it's not ideal, or if it's not gonna pay what you're looking for, or if it's a part-time job,
Yeah. No, that's we're just as in the interim, I'm trying to max out on the volatility of this market. It's moving a lot right now, so you might as well make money while you can. And I have the time to sit here and look at the computer all day, so I might as well do so.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I mean, hopefully it works out. Like I said, my goal for everybody here is, it's not necessarily just to educate, it's to get you in the point where you don't have to do a job anymore, to quit, right? Quit the job and say, screw this. I'm my own boss now. Matter of fact, I don't work, I don't work for money. My money works for me. That's the goal. And if I can turn everybody that I come in contact with into that mentality, and then it turn into that actual, that becomes reality, that's where we all need to be. We all deserve to be there, not where the world has us. You know what I mean? Manager says jump, you jump. Screw that. When I tell my money to jump, it jumps. That's what I want. So what I want for me is what I want for everybody else. And that's why we opened the server, right? That's why we started it, because we want to teach you guys how to do the same thing that we're doing. Right? I'm successful. It's not because, well, I guess it is because of my hard work. It is because of research and determination. But it's also because of what I give back. I think the more I give back, the more I get. Right? So that positivity is a great way to look at life. And if you can get there, you can be positive, and you can give more than you receive, then you're going to continuously receive a lot more every time you give more. So um, that's why we do this, right? Um, so let's see. I do got another question. P. Frank, you get unmuted by asking us to unmute you, and make sure that you mute yourself, because right now I hear background noise, so I'm going to remute you if I continue to hear it. There you go. Thank you. Eminem, do I know if there's a way to exit a call option based on the price of the underlying stock? Say if I bought no T at $80 strike, 115 call, and I wanted to sell that option when underlying stock hits 80, is that possible? Not necessarily. And the reason is because the bid-ask spread affects the contract price. The stock price affects the contract price. Theta affects the contract price. Implied volatility affects the contract price. So you're not going to necessarily say, oh, at $80. I mean, if you got in today and you wanted to get out today at $80, okay, yeah, maybe that would work. Still, you have to account for spread, bid-ask spread, and implied volatility. So it's not necessarily going to work that way, unfortunately. If you're looking to get in and out of a position based off of the price of the stock, you should stick to shares. That's going to be your best bet. Let's see. You're welcome. Man, trade floor is 700 messages since I started. And Mr. Marshall, are you in here? Mr. Marshall. No. Let's see. All right, I think that's it for those.
Yo.
Hold on. Give me 1 second. All right. All right. Okay. Looks like I'm caught up on all DMs, YouTube. All right. Floor's open for anybody else that has questions.
I have a question.
Okay.
Hostile. I remember you talking about DraftKings, but like I remember I was there when you talked about it, but I just wanted to ask you about an entry. Can you take a look or?
I think that DKNG is ship has sailed.
Like 4 days ago, right?
Yeah.
So I should have entered 4 days ago because I was looking at it and I was like, I'm not sure.
I mean, I was looking for it to come back further, but after it hit that point and then bounced that following day, I realized that was 50% retracement. So, what are you gonna do, right? Missed it.
Yeah. So 50% retracement is where you would take. So if you knew it was 50% when the first time you looked at it, would you have taken it?
Probably because I'm bullish on it.
about the fundamentals in general. Okay. One more question too. Like
It's actually 61.8. I'm sorry, but go ahead.
61.8 for what?
Fibonacci.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, honestly, I'm just not too sure. Like I don't know. Never mind. I'm gonna test this
Yo,
out myself.
Trap, you're
Have my
good at
shot.
what you do. Stop overthinking things, man. We've talked about this.
Yeah, I know.
You're good at charting. You know what you're talking about. You just gotta trust yourself and take those trades. You're in the same position I was in 6 months ago. Just
Okay,
trust
Mario.
yourself and take those trades. That's the only way you're gonna learn. You can ask all the questions in the world. You can use all the indicators in the world. But until you actually do it yourself and start trusting yourself, that's when you're going to start making money.
All right. Oh, one more thing. I just the fundamentals of the stock. I remember you said that. Thanks, Mario. I remember you said like you don't really care about the fundamentals of the stock because you're holding it for like a month or less, right?
Correct.
So you don't. So the things you would care about the stock would just be, is it bankrupt? Is there like really bad news when it's at the support level? Is those would be the main things you'd be worried about, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, there are some basic fundamentals that you look into. You don't go deeply into it, right? You just look at certain things like, is this company, what's their earnings? What's their revenue? Um, are they paying dividends? Um, what season of the year, like, is it a seasonal type of stock? I'm trying to think of some more stuff off the top of my head. What's their long-term chart look like? A 10-year chart. Where are they at in that chart? Have they been around for 10 years? Have they been around for a year? Have they been around for 3 months? Those things make a difference.
All right. Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay. Who else?
I think you beat the questions this time.
That's the goal, I guess, right?
Yep.
And I keep talking about retirement if some of you want to hear that.
I want to ask a question. How do you drop the Fibonacci on top of your trend lines? Like, what button do you actually select?
So are you using Thinkorswim?
Yes.
Okay, so up here in the top right, you see where it says drawings? See that? Next to study?
Yes.
So you click on that, you go to drawing tools, and it's going to be the percent sign. When you hover over it, a little thing should pop up and say Fibonacci retract.
I don't know if you're speaking, but I can't hear you anymore.
Can you hear me now? Okay, I don't know what happened there. Was that you, Parisa, asking the question? Ashley, okay. AB will, right? Okay, gotcha. Okay, so what did you last hear? Okay, so once you select the drawing, and you go to the drawing tools and you select the percent thing, it shows you Fibonacci retracement when you hover your mouse over it. Once you choose it, it's now part of your drawing tools. So what you're going to look to do is when you draw the Fibonacci, there's a wave, right? So peaks and valleys, right? So that's a wave, right? So you follow me so far? Which one's what a wave is? Okay, so let's start here at the bottom of this particular point of DraftKings. You always start with the very last candle where it starts to move up, right? So I'd say right there, right? And then you're going to draw it until the highest point of this wave, right? So I would kind of go to the right there. So you can get that 0% top line to touch that wick, right? That's how you draw it. Does that make sense? You're welcome. And if you want some more examples, I have a another video on my Professor Hostile channel where it shows Fibonacci retracements, trend, and shoot, what was the other thing? Trend 15%. I'm sorry, trend 50% retracement and Fibonacci retracements. Because 50% retracement is not a Fibonacci level, but you can draw it out with the Fibonacci. But I separated it because typically when you see a 50% retracement, that's a continuation trend or a continuation indication, whereas the Fibonacci, it still is kind of a continuation based off of whatever level it is, but the Fibonacci is just the 23, the 38, 61, and 78. 50 is not part of the Fibonacci. Awesome. Glad to hear it. And if you or anybody else here wants me to create some other type of video, feel free to DM me and I'll see if I can't get something created. I mean, I'm always trying to create new stuff because I mean, everybody here has different expertise levels, and there isn't anybody that I would say, oh, I'm not going to make a video because that's too easy or whatever the case. So I'm open to making anything anybody is having trouble with and needs visualization. Totally happy to do that. So feel free to DM me on that. Okay. Anybody else have questions? You want me to do a charting video? I have videos that go over charting. They're specific though. They're not like, I mean, so I've got, I'll tell you the videos I've got. Well, I go over Robinhood trash video, cash or margin video, Roth video, Greeks, candles, support levels, resistance levels, IV and IV rank levels, or rather indicators, the trend, 50% Fibonacci. I even do like some calendar leaps. Those are a little bit more advanced. Standard deviation channels, which is what these dotted lines are on my chart, the colored like purple, green, tan, gray. I have a scanner that I created that uses those channels. There's a video for that. And lastly, the last video that I created is the wheel strategy. As some of you have probably heard others ask the questions about the wheel strategy tonight. It's probably the main strategy that I utilize. So that's a really great video as well. But it's kind of an advanced strategy. So you might have to watch it quite a few times. Well, honestly, if you're interested in that, you should probably look at the cash or margin video first, because that's going to explain to you what option selling is briefly, but it will explain it. So that's a good one to look at. You're welcome. And again, all this can be found in my Professor Hostel channel, so feel free to go in there and take a look at the pin tab. I pin all of the non-lecture videos, just the regular stock trading videos and informational education videos. That's what I pin. I try to keep it separate, if that makes sense. Let's see. Okay. Anybody else? Welcome. Sure. What's your question? Uh, who had the question? Okay. Maybe whoever had the question's mic isn't working because I don't hear anything. I can hear you. Yep. I always tell everybody to go as close to at the money as possible that you can afford that has the best open interest with the best bid-ask spread. Is that too much to process? Do you want me to? Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, think of it this way. The closer to at the money you get, the sooner you see profits and the larger they'll be, assuming you have the cash for it. And I never recommend more than 5% in a position at any one time. Now, when I do leaps, you could do a lot larger position, right? I mean, I've got a 30% position on a leap, but again, that's a year out, right? So I don't. And with a leap, it's different, right? I mean, it's okay because the leaps cost so much. It's okay to pick a resistance point that you think is going to either be breached or at least tested. Then it's okay because, like I said, it costs a lot of money. But if you're doing monthly contracts or less, you go to as close to at the money as possible because you're going to see returns pretty quickly that way. Especially if you get the direction right, you'll see some nice returns pretty quick. Yes, you never want to go in the money. Just make sure it's right at the money. You're welcome. Okay. Who else? I think Byron was asking first. Who? Yes, I can hear you. What are you using Thinkorswim? So I always go to the monitor tab. Are you looking at my screen right now? So you've got, well, you might have to add at least PL percent, but I look at PL percent, PL open, PL day. Okay, PL open is your overall return for that position. No, that's overall. For one day is PL day, and PL percent is your overall percentage gain, right? So are you talking about on the trade tab? You want to see it there? Well, so I don't know how you can do that. I don't think you can on the desktop. You're using a desktop, right? Okay. So what I recommend you do then is put it on your mobile phone. Okay, so I'll take a photo and show you what it looks like on mobile. Yep, you can check it there while you look at your charts. Much, yeah, I can. So I can log in on both my phone and my computer. I don't know if you can do it on two machines. I think you can. Matter of fact, actually, yeah, I think you can because I use my laptop downstairs and that's logged in. Like so, like I'll be upstairs on my computer in my office doing it, and then I'll take a break, go downstairs. If I'm eating lunch or something, I'll have my laptop right there, and I can log on the toss right there as well. It doesn't kick me out. I'll come back upstairs and it's still on. So pretty sure you can. I'm not sure what you're asking. Do you have a screenshot or something you can send me? Yeah, just send me what you're referencing. It's kind of hard for me to kind of grasp what you're saying. You're welcome. Um, what do you mean you have to, like you're trying to, oh, the style. Yeah, so I mean, so like right now my chart, um, so if I do save style, it's gonna pop up a little save style thing where you can name it. And when you do that, you do include patterns and study set, and it's gonna save it exactly how you see it here. It's your layout, basically. Yeah, that's what you're asking, right? Oh, the study. Um, so if you save a study set, it's just going to be the studies on the bottom. It's not going to be the chart. It's not going to be the time frames. It's not going to be anything you've got in the chart. Like if you, I mean, for me, I have my chart set up in a way that the volume graph is down here. I've got certain, I got 100, is it 100? I think it's 100 bars past current. I've got pre-market. I've got a couple of things that are configured specifically the way I like it. And if I just save studies or save study set, it's not going to do anything with my chart. It's just going to save these 3 studies or the 2 studies. It's not even going to bother with the volume set. But if I save style, it's going to save all of it. Yes. And the study set only saves studies that you have. So like if I wanted to, let's see, I don't even know if I've got, hold on a second. Let me save this one, then I'll show you. All right, here, check this out. Actually, I think it, so any study that I add into the chart as well, so anything that's considered a study will work, all right? So here, I'm going to change it so you can see. See, I just changed it to a different study set, and then I can go back and go back to the same one I was just on. Boom. You see? So it only changes the studies. Anything that's considered a study, you can save it as a set. Whereas if I want to change, if I want to save the entire layout of what I've set up, that's where you do style. You're welcome. Okay. There was another gentleman. You're welcome. There was another gentleman that had a question. Okay. It's pretty new. Looks like it's only been around for almost 4 months, so the point to be on the day. Okay, so what's the question for this one? Try to draw this out the way you're probably describing. Something like that. And you said 40.40. I personally, I would like to get into this under 35. I think it'd be a solid entry at 35. Now, I don't, yeah, so let me redraw something else out here. It looks like it's doing a, shit. What the hell do I call it? It's squeezing, oh, it's a wedge that's squeezing downwards. Right, so it's got these support levels that it's holding pretty well. So I think if it touches that support down here, right around, honestly, lower than 35, looks like under 34. Um, I think that's a solid level to get into, and it's got a high potential of breakout, but it could drop below it. I've seen this happen before. If it does drop below it, it'll probably go under 28. If you're doing shares, that's not a problem. You throw more money at it. If you're doing options, it's different story. I see. I got you. So the problem with that is you've got a resistance level that is going to prevent that breakout, right? It's got to go above this. It's got to go above this one here before you'll see a breakout, right? And that level looks to be 42.46. So that's your breakout point, not the 40.40. I would rather get it at support. Just me personally, though. Let's see. Well, I'm more of a conservative trader, so I don't like short-term stuff. Not for buying options, especially. Um, this is so new, though. It makes me sketch because I mean, I like the way it looks. I like how it is kind of drawing out a pennant. I do see that, right? I mean, you've got this. I do see that. Um, that is a bullish indicator. It's so new that I've got nothing to go off of. So, until it shakes out some more and creates new highs and new lows, it makes me a little bit sketch. Um, but again, the pennant is a bullish chart pattern. Um, if you look down here at the MACD and the true momentum, it looks like it's about to cross over into bearish territory. True momentum looks like the sellers are in control. It's overbought. So like I said, I think it's going to fall down here to the support level at a minimum. If it breaches below it, like I said, you're going to be seeing a 27 and a half area for it to retrace to. But if it gets there, then I would say, definitely you could get into something a month out, be safe and fair. But the longer out you go, the better chance you have of making money. That's really the bottom line here. Like December 17th. But the problem is, oh, look, there is pretty good interest. I'd go for this 50. Honestly, the 50 strike. Yeah, I'd totally go for the 50. If you can afford $1,000 on this position, why not? Um, the other drawback, though, in my opinion, is buying at a high IV. That's a bad idea, personally, in my opinion. But for me as an option seller, I'm looking at this February at $335 premium. That looks kind of juicy. 35 bucks. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that one to my attention. Yeah, yeah. RAM. Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, man, I would go for shares. It's a safe bet, especially with high IV. If it had low IV, then I'd say, all right, buy option, whatever. But because the IV's, 105, that's you're probably going to be paying too much for that option. Well, I always say under 40 IV, but IV rank. So IV rank, I like to see under 40 as well. 50 is probably about as fair as it gets, but below that, it's in your favor. But IV rank is based off of 252 trading days, and it gets an average. But because this only has 3.5 or so, or 3 months worth of time frame, and this could be it could be skewed because it's so new, so it has probably some hype to it, right? I mean, if you look at the volume, we've got, I'd say, majority of it over 1 million every 4 hours, over 1 million, right? There are some, I'd say at least 50%, if not more, is over 1 million for every 4 hours. And then you've got these other ones that are 4 million, and you've got some that are 2. So I mean, the volatility's there because it's such a new stock. But yeah, I think long term, this one, I mean, Corsair's been out for a long time. I mean, they've been doing RAM forever. They do other stuff too. I think mice, keyboards. I think they even do like PC fans, um, cooling. What do you call it? CPU coolers. Um, I think they might have GPU sets. I know they do computer tower cases, but they're more into RAM. That's their thing. I actually have Corsair in my computer, so I think I've probably bought Corsair for the past 5 to 10 years, to be honest with you. But I just don't know how much money they're actually generating, to be honest. So let's see what their last ER was. Yeah, they doubled it, so that's a positive sign. Next one's 210. 210. Yeah, I personally like this for CSPs at 34. If I can get it at 34, I'll be happy. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I was saying that they have the fans, they have the CPU coolers. Yeah, that was part of what I was. I mean, as far as cooling goes, their competitor is Cooler Master. A lot of my cooling is Cooler Master. But for RAM, 100% it's Corsair. Like I don't mess with anything else. They got the they are they are the top stuff for RAM, 100% hands down. But there is competition for GPU coolers, CPU coolers, cooling fans, those types of things. I didn't know they made power supplies. Yeah, absolutely. I don't dispute that at all. Very possible. Like I said, the only thing that makes me nervous is because they're so new. I don't know what their fundamentals have been in the past, right? Because they're new in the market. I don't know. If I had some kind of inclination on the fundamentals of their history, then I would probably say, okay, you could go long on it or something if I had more information. But um, short term speaking, I like it at 34. And if it drops below that, even better. Maybe I'll buy some shares myself. So I'll probably get a CSP at 34 if it drops below that to down to 27, or yeah, down here somewhere. Then I'll probably buy some shares myself. Okay. Anybody else? Hey. Oh, that's been ripping. I think you missed a train. Wait for that to do a 50% retracement at least. No. Let's see. Tell you what price that I would consider. 1492. But again, I can't. That's assuming it starts falling. If it keeps going up past that, I have to redraw the Fibonacci. So the moment it starts to crest and then come back down and breach a recent support level, that's when the downtrend starts. Potentially, very potentially. That's where I draw the Fibonacci to see from its low to its high before it started falling. That's where you do it. That makes sense. You're welcome. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Not really, to be honest with you. I don't like to be. So here's the way I like to do it is I like to be bullish on everything that I trade. And when I look for things, so like certain industries are going up, certain industries are going down. So they don't necessarily are they're not necessarily a hedge or an inverse, but when um, certain stuff starts falling, I start looking into precious metals, I start looking into energy, I start looking into other industries that I'm not invested in. And if those are at lows, then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna move my money from the stuff that's been pumping to this stuff that's been getting dumped. Because now the stuff that's been pumping is starting to fall. And I'm gonna get into the stuff that's been falling and now it's gonna start jumping, right? And like I said, not necessarily an inverse. I'm just looking for something that's like right now, gold. Shit. So gold's been fallen for 3.5 months roughly, right? Um, from its high. But everything else right now is at highs, or a lot of stuff, right? So I'm gonna start transitioning into stuff like this, where I can play these off of these levels, right? Because they're at lows. So I'll transition, right? So I don't try not to be bearish on something because overall in the very long term, everything is bullish, right? There's always going to be some kind of retracement. There's always going to be some kind of dip. But if you look at the long-term trend of everything that's solvent, it's all going up, right? So keep that in mind, right? I don't try not to be bearish on stuff. I just try to pick other industries that are at support, that have been at support for a month, like this gold. It's been at support for a month, and it's just now starting its breakout, in my opinion. I think it's gonna at some point here, and maybe tomorrow, it's gonna break out again. It's gonna retest its resistance levels and start moving past it. That's my guess here, because it had a huge drop on Friday, so I expect it to start showing some green here. But I'm in a couple of precious metal positions that I'm looking for some returns on soon. So I mean, you can look at gold, you can look at WPM, you can look at NEM, which is Newmont, NEM. They still got a big gap to fill. I don't like their options though. Options looks like cheeks, but they got a nice gap right here to fill. It's expensive, especially if you're doing what's that? No, not for Newmont, but NUGT, Gold, WPM. Let's see WPM, SLV also. Yeah, see this one's already filled its gap. SLV, That one's at support. Gold filled its gap. Well, not quite. It might not. NUG filled its gap. Right? See that gap there? So it's going to start coming back up, in my opinion. I mean, it did a nice wick here and then bounced. So, again, the MACD is pretty decently wide. You got the true momentum down here at the bottom. So, might see a little bit of red tomorrow and then start going up on Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. Okay. You're welcome. I looked at some crypto. Is Bitcoin even on? Like, what's is it BTC? No, hell no. What's a ticker that I can look at? Is there an ETF for Bitcoin? Yeah, I don't know. I don't really follow crypto. I just know that crypto is at highs. No, it's not BTC in the market. That's Community Bankers Trust. I mean, that's what it is like, if you're looking at it somewhere, but as far as ticker symbols, it, yeah, it's not that. Riot, Mara, they're all same shit. Yeah, I mean, it's at highs, man. Like, if you're in late, are you in profit? Well, you said you got in late or something. What did you get in late? Are you in profit with Mara? Take it. Because at some point, man, this shit, I mean, look at that rise. It's insane. It has to come down. There's no way it stays up there. No way. Yeah, all of it. I mean, Bitcoin is ripped so hard. There's absolutely no way that thing stays that high. I just don't see it. Oof. Okay. Anybody else? Yes. I'm not sure how to share the. Yeah, maybe that's it. Let's see. Mm, Let me just see who this is. Oh, that's totally different. Huh, good thing I saved it, because I'd be like, yeah, I can share that. You're welcome. Yes. No problem. All right. Um, I, I don't use Fibonacci to determine like a confirmation on when to get into something. I use Fibonacci to determine um, what levels of the trend it's at, or where it might stop retracing, if that makes sense. Um, when I look to get into something, it's just specific to support and resistance, historical support and resistance, and if MACD and true momentum line up with it, that just adds to it. But I don't use Fibonacci to determine where to get in. Retracements. So if it hits a high, maybe the 50%. I think that's probably the strongest, even though that's not a Fibonacci level, but I can draw the 50% with the Fibonacci. I really love 50% retracements because it's like a 99%, maybe not quite that, let's say 95% chance it bounces off to 50%. So if it's in an uptrend, hits a high, falls, bounces off to 50, there's a good chance it's going to keep going up. And vice versa. If it's falling in a downtrend and then it retraces upward 50%, there's a good chance it's going to fall back further and keep going. If that makes sense. Well, the shorter you go, the less strength it has. So the further out you go, the more strength it has. So you have to determine, what type of trading you're trying to do and what time frames you're looking at. Then you can determine which time frames of the chart are best to use your Fibonacci levels on. Welcome. For me, I like the 30, the 60, the 90, 180, and the 1 year. So not one is better than the other. I look at all of it, right? I analyze all of it, and if stuff lines up together in all of those charts, that just makes it more strong, right? So it's going to take some practice to really understand how to correlate everything that way. What I can say is the more you look at all of the charts and the more of the confirmation so let's say, for example, you're looking on the 30-day and you draw it out. Oh, it's a 50%. Then you go to the 60 and it's still a 50. And then you go to the 90 and the 180 and it's a 50. That tells you that's a very strong 50% retracement. But if you go to the 30 and then the 60, so say the 30 shows a 50, but then the 60 shows a 28, well, now you know it's not a 50, right? Um, I don't, but I will see if I can find something. That's not a good one. Let's try from the bottom here. Actually, it's never going to line up like that. So with the waves, the time frames make a difference, right? I mean, 30 days of Fibonacci is going to be different than a 60-day, and so on. So with the Fibonacci, I guess the best answer is, what time frame are you drawing? I think you should, instead of drawing the Fibonacci on a specific time frame, you got to do support and resistance throughout all of the time frames, draw those out, and then start playing around with the Fibonacci on specific time frames to see where you should be looking, right? The main thing to really take away from this is Fibonacci's are to be drawn on waves, right? So you're low and high. So in this particular example, 107 to 138, all right, this is the Fibonacci I'd be drawing, right? So, it looks like it bounced off the 38 on this one. You see, but if I go in closer, my wave's going to be different. Right, so if I go closer, now we're looking at 114. Right, so that's why I always start honestly with a 180. Right, then I can see waves. Right, so 68 to this one, 139. It falls and breaches multiple support levels. Right, and then comes back up. So that's a wave. That's a wave. That's one. That's one. And that's one. Does that make sense? You're welcome. Okay, I'm take a couple more questions. I'm gonna end this at midnight. Anybody else? Looks like it could be at some kind of a support level. I don't know what Sorrento is. Obviously, it's therapeutics, but I don't know what exactly. Well, they're definitely negative on their earnings. That's not good. I don't like anything that's negative on earnings necessarily. I mean, there are some exceptions, but generally speaking, you want to stay away from negative earnings type of stuff. This is at kind of a was recently at support. Let's see. Not the greatest. I prefer this one. That's the one I prefer. It looks like it's traveling within a range, though, in my opinion. The past month and a half, almost 2 months, it's traveling, between 645 and $9. So it's probably going to potentially go back up to 9 before it falls again. Looks like hard to say. I mean, 2 out of 3 earnings were positive as far as the charting goes. The third one was kind of just some negativity, but not as volatile as the positivity from the other ones, even though their earnings was trash. Yeah, I mean, earnings was estimated negative 22 cents, and it was actually negative 36, which is worse. So again, no idea why stuff's pumping from having negative ER. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. um, sorry, I was laughing because I made a video on why I think Robinhood is trash. TDA is the best, but there's a steep learning curve. I think Webull is probably easier to learn. Go on my channel, look at the pinned messages, and look for why I think Robinhood is complete trash. And then I'll go over. There's a couple of things that I'll go over on if you should go to Webull or TDA or whatever. There's a little bit of that in there. But basically, I'm trashing Robinhood pretty hard because it's true. It's I don't go after something for no reason. I have legitimate reasoning behind why I think Robinhood is crap. I highly recommend you watch that video. It's when you go to my pinned messages, it's the very bottom one. You're welcome. Yes. MACD and true momentum. It's just a trend. It shows the trend. It shows who's in control of that particular trend. Yes. And it's also similar to RSI in the sense that when it goes into the shaded red area, it's overbought, and the shaded green area, it's oversold. And those are the extreme ends. Yeah, I'll share it. I'll share it. It's not it's a script that I added. It's not something that's default. Yeah. Okay. You're welcome. Okay. I'll take one last question and then wrap it up. Yeah, I did talk about Tesla, but I'll take this last question. I don't know where Tesla's going to go. I have no idea how high it's going to go. I think maybe 1,000. But the higher it goes, the riskier it becomes to be bullish. So if you got in last week and you're in profits, it's probably a good idea to take them. You're welcome. All right. Well, I'm going to end it. Guys and gals, thanks for coming. Thanks for showing up to Mario's lecture as well. Appreciate that. And everybody have a good night. All right. See ya.